Chapter 1045. All the sounds between heaven and earth disappeared. Everyone could only see this scene. They could only see that Edge Cloud was pierced by Yi Shiwen's sword. The white scale armor that he was proud of could not withstand Yi Shiwen's terrifying blow at all. The piercing light sword devoured all of his life force and crushed all of his hope. Amidst this white light, a bloody light swept past and swept Edge Cloud inside. It was EMO who had taken action. When no one had noticed, he had taken Edge Cloud away. With the death of Edge Cloud, this battle of life and death that concerned the three major sea regions finally came to an end. In the end, the Flourish Cloud Sea region, which many people were optimistic about before the battle, won a complete victory. Moreover, they didn't just chase them away. Instead, they made all of them stay behind. The two sea regions clearly had a fundamental advantage when it came to ordinary experts. However, when it came to top-notch experts, they suffered a crushing defeat, which led to their miserable deaths. This made these people deeply understand a principle. In this world where the weak were prey to the strong, unless there was a terrifying number of people, it would be useless. In the face of these terrifying experts from the Flourish Cloud Sea region, it was useless no matter how many people they had. For a time, those who were still restless and had ulterior motives settled down at once. They knew that if they did not settle down at this time, they would be cruelly suppressed. The current Flourish Cloud Sea region was different from before. It could be said that there were no strong enemies on the outside, and there were 4 half-step law manifestation experts on the inside. They could easily suppress all rebellions. They did not want to test the law. Compared with the masters of the major sea regions who had complicated thoughts, the masters of the Flourish Cloud Sea region were overjoyed all of a sudden. Initially, they had been on tenterhooks. They might be killed by the furious Edge Cloud at any time, but since they had already done it, they could only board Yi Shiwen's pirate ship, who knew that the result was completely beyond their expectations. Yi Shiwen was more tyrannical than they thought. He eradicated the masters of the 2 major sea regions in one fell swoop instead of driving them away. In other words, it was equivalent to eradicating future troubles, so that they had no worries and did not have to worry about possible revenge at any time. Now that they occupied the entire Flourish Cloud City, they could enjoy the benefits of Flourish Cloud City's development. Their cultivation would also rise steadily. Even stepping into the half-step law manifestation realm would not be a dream. Was seeking a breakthrough and not fighting the fundamental purpose of coming to the blood world? It was naturally the best if they could achieve it now. Young Master Sea Dragon and others finally breathed a sigh of relief. During this time, the pressure in their hearts was much greater than most people's. It was precisely because they were stronger that they knew Edge Cloud's strength. Now that they finally saw Edge Cloud die tragically, they could finally breathe a sigh of relief. They also took this opportunity to establish the supreme prestige of the Flourish Cloud Sea region. They wanted to see how many people dared to play tricks in the dark. In a courtyard in Flourish Cloud City, Yi Shiwen paced slowly in the middle of the courtyard. The surroundings were quiet, and no one dared to disturb Yi Shiwen at this time. It had been a full 3 days since Yi Shiwen beheaded Edge Cloud. The entire Flourishing Cloud City had restored its original order. Without the threat of Edge Cloud, the people in Flourishing Cloud City had settled down. Everyone finally began to settle down. Many people began to go out of the city to explore the blood world, looking for fortuitous encounters, or stay in the city to condense the bloodstone and then cultivate. Since the entire Flourish Cloud City was on the right track, young Master Sea Dragon and others also began to enter close cultivation again. This time, they killed a large number of experts from the Feng Shui Sea region and the Tai Feng Sea region, seizing more than 2 million bloodstones, of which 1 million was unanimously requested by everyone to be distributed to Yi Shiwen. They were all very clear that this time they could survive, kill all the experts from the 2 sea regions, and monopolize the Flourish Cloud Sea region. Who was it that they relied on? It was none other than Yi Shiwen. Compared to them, Yi Shiwen was the foundation. With Yi Shiwen's strength, he could pull up a team and rebuild a city at any time. It would be impolite to refuse Yi Shiwen because he really needed these bloodstones. Although his combat power was extraordinary and could behead half-step law manifestation realm peak initial experts, because of this, his consumption was much higher than ordinary people. Even if he just wanted to enter the transcendent realm 8th level, he would need to consume a massive amount of bloodstones. Not to mention the subsequent cultivation, even to cultivate to the half-step law manifestation realm. The bloodstones needed were an astronomical amount of wealth for others. This was also the price Yi Shiwen had to pay to maintain the combat power of leapfrogging realms. However, even if there were only 1 million left, it was still a huge amount of wealth for them. Their combat power was not as good as Yi Shiwen, so naturally, they did not need to consume so much. After obtaining these wealth, they quickly began close cultivation. Yi Shiwen had also seized a lot from Bian Yun's body. Bian Yun was the original leader of the Typhoon Sea area. He had occupied the entire flourishing Cloud City. Although the wealth on his body wasn't as much as the treasury, it was still more than 500,000. In other words, Yi Shiwen now had more than 2 million bloodstones in addition to the original 500,000. To the current blood world, this amount of wealth was definitely a huge sum of money. Yi Shiwen couldn't help but sigh in his heart. In comparison, the leaders of these big forces were extremely wealthy, especially for someone like him who didn't need to worry about the development of the entire force. So, he was extremely wealthy. 2 million bloodstones were enough for him to cultivate for a long time. Yi Shiwen, who originally planned to leave, now decided to stay and enter the Transcendent Realm 8th level first. Although flourishing Cloud City was good and stable, it was his world. For Yi Shiwen, it was not an ideal place to improve his strength. His martial arts could only be improved by constant experience, encountering stronger experts and defeating stronger experts. In this flourishing Cloud City, his combat power was already top-notch. It was not that he could not improve, but the extent of improvement would definitely be greatly reduced. Jian Wushuang also considered this point, which was why he left. To some extent, Jian Wushuang and Yi Shiwen were the same type of people. They were completely different from Sea Dragon Master and the others. They had to take care of their families and disciples from their respective forces, so they couldn't be completely free. Only Yi Shiwen and Jian Wushuang were alone and could leave at any time. This was Yi Shiwen's disadvantage, but at this time, it also became his advantage. He could be free. However, now that he had enough bloodstones, he wasn't in a hurry to leave the blood world as soon as possible. The blood world was vast and boundless, and the deeper he went, the more dangerous it would be, and the more experts there would be. His current strength might be enough to dominate the periphery of the blood world. However, there would be many experts who would be above him once he entered the depths of the blood world. The danger was unpredictable. Instead of that, it was better to improve his strength first and then consider leaving. Anyway, he was not in a rush to leave. It was just that all his energy was now focused on the map he held in his hand. Yi Shiwen didn't know what year this ancient map was from, but it was precisely the one he had seized from Bian Yun's body. In addition to the more than 500,000 bloodstones and a large number of spirit crystals on Bian Yun, only this map caught Yi Shiwen's attention. What is the place marked on this map? Yi Shiwen frowned and looked at the place marked on the antique map. He was completely unfamiliar with the Blood Realm, so he couldn't tell what place it was at all. Unfortunately, he didn't know the existence of this map. Otherwise, he would have caught Bian Yun first and checked his memory with the soul-searching technique. But now that he was dead, he naturally couldn't check his memory. However, he only knew that since it was a map that Bian Yun wanted to stay by his side until he died, it must be a very important map. Although he didn't know where he got it from, it was not important now. This must be a treasure map. Yi Mo's silhouette appeared and stood on Yi Shiwen's shoulder. He pointed at the map and said, "There are many arrows here. I think that the last arrow is pointing at the place where the treasures are hidden, because after absorbing Bian Yun's blood essence, Tianyuan Mirror was promoted to the top human-level martial instrument faster than originally expected, and Yi Mo could finally be released." Yi Shiwen nodded and somewhat agreed with Yi Mo's judgment. Anyway, at this time, he didn't know what place this treasure map was pointing to. Wait a minute, look. Doesn't this mountain look like the mountain that we passed by before coming to this flourishing Cloud City? Yishuan suddenly pointed at the map and said, although for many people, each mountain seemed to be more or less the same, for a top master like Yishuan, his eyes were like a scanner. At a glance, even if there were only some subtle differences, he could easily see it. It was impossible to hide from his eyes. If he found a similarity, then it was 100% true. Yes, it's this mountain range. Yimo's eyes suddenly lit up. His reaction was also very fast, and he immediately reacted. There's a clue. Haha, it's great that there is a clue now. I'm afraid that there is no clue at all. Although there was only a little clue, as long as there was a clue and he followed the map, he could always find the point drawn on the map. After finding the clue, Yi Shiwen was in a good mood. He decided not to waste time and directly entered the state of close cultivation. When he broke through to Transcendent Realm 8th level, he would leave this place. A true dragon couldn't be bred in shallow waters. He needed a wider sky. Chapter 1046. After confirming this point, Yishuan didn't hesitate and immediately entered the state of closed-door training. Currently, several young experts in Flourishing Cloud City had basically entered the state of closed-door training, striving for a breakthrough. Especially Jing Wuyin, the princess, Boundless Sea, and a few other geniuses who hadn't yet stepped into the half-step law manifestation realm. When they were outside, although there was still some gap between them, they were basically considered to be at the same level. Now, they were left behind by young Master Sea Dragon and the other two. How could they not be anxious? One must know that even though they were allies in the Blood World, they were still opponents after leaving the Blood World. Especially since the Blood World's trial might not last for a long time, but as opponents, it would last for many years. At this time, they naturally could not allow themselves to fall behind these people too much. Now, naturally, no one came to disturb Yi Shiwen's close cultivation. Time passed calmly as everyone was in close cultivation. As more and more places were explored, more and more people found treasures of demons or had some adventures. The entire Flourishing Cloud City began to gradually prosper. Some people would take out the treasures they obtained and auction them off, increasing the vitality of the entire city a lot. These greatly increased the tax revenue of Flourishing Cloud City and eventually fell into the hands of everyone in the Flourishing Cloud Sea region. Even so, no one in the major sea regions dared to be dissatisfied. It was not only because Yi Shiwen and the others had successfully defeated Edge Cloud, which gave everyone a great shock. More importantly, the half-step law manifestation realm masters of the Flourishing Cloud Sea region did not stop occasionally. Half a month after Edge Cloud was killed, Jing Wuhui, who was originally only a little bit away from entering the half-step law manifestation realm, successfully entered the half-step law manifestation realm and became another powerful half-step law manifestation realm master in Flourishing Cloud City. After another half a month, another master broke into the half-step law manifestation realm. It was none other than the elder brother of the High Siblings, Boundless Sea. After another month, Princess and Boundless Sea had entered the half-step law manifestation realm one after another. In the following month, another expert entered the half-step into the Transcendence realm. However, no one expected this person to be Yao Qian, who could barely squeeze into the top 20 previously. This time, she was ahead of everyone else. After Princess and Hai Wuyo, she became another female giant in the half-step into the Transcendence realm. In these 3 months, although there were 2 experts from other sea regions who entered the half-step law manifestation realm after a fortuitous encounter, they were nothing compared to the 9 half-step law manifestation realm experts in the Flourish Cloud Sea region. Even these 2 half-step law manifestation realm experts could only be obedient people and did not dare to cause any trouble. Otherwise, they would be cruelly suppressed. Whether it was the strength or the number of experts, the Flourish Cloud Sea region was far above the major sea regions. After a few months, the Flourish Cloud Sea region had successfully established its prestige and established its rule in this area. There was no doubt that with the passage of time, more and more experts in the Flourish Cloud Sea region would enter the half-step law manifestation realm. As the Flourish Cloud Sea region that controlled the entire Flourish Cloud City, Its cultivation realm was naturally far from what other sea regions could match. Unless there was an unexpected factor like Yi Shiwen, it would be difficult to shake them. Many people exclaimed secretly, "What is going on with the Flourish Cloud Sea region this time? Is it really time for them to rebound from the bottom and erupt all of a sudden with so many geniuses emerging all of a sudden?" There was no need to mention Yi Shiwen. Others like Sea Dragon Young Master and the others were also top-notch Heaven's Pride experts in other sea domains. In middle-level sea domains, their innate talents were also top-notch. They were not much worse than them. In fact, although there was a certain gap in cultivation between the geniuses of the major sea regions, most of the time, this was caused by the resources of the major forces in the major sea regions. There might not be such a big gap between their talents. It was even possible that the talents of people from small sea regions were far superior to those from middle-sized and large sea regions. The Blood World trial was an opportunity, a chance to shorten the gap between them. In the Blood World, blood chi that could promote cultivation could be seen everywhere. To some extent, it could also shorten the gap between them in terms of resources, allowing people from small sea regions to have a chance to catch up with experts from other sea regions. Generally speaking, the talents of people from large sea regions were far better than those from other sea regions. It was already extremely amazing for people from small sea regions to have a genius. But the Flourish Cloud Sea region had so many geniuses in one breath. The experts from other sea regions could not help but exclaim secretly. There were so many Heaven's Pride experts. Apart from the lack of top experts, they were probably already comparable to a medium-sized sea region. After a period of time, Yi Shiwen, Young Master Sea Dragon, and the others would grow up. Then, they would truly be comparable to a medium-sized sea region. This was something that even the Tai Feng Sea region could not achieve. But the Flourish Cloud Sea region did it. Just like that, 3 months passed amidst the slight turbulence and calmness. During these 3 months, the Flourish Cloud Sea region's high-level officials did not show up, but they managed the Flourish Cloud City in an orderly manner. But on this day, these high-level officials of the Flourished Cloud Sea region, which was rarely seen on weekdays, suddenly gathered in front of a small courtyard. This small courtyard was the small courtyard where Yi Shiwen was. Today, everyone gathered here for one reason, which was to wait for Yi Shiwen to come out from his closed-door cultivation. Everyone present was a half-step law manifestation expert. Those who had not reached the half-step law manifestation realm were not even qualified to join this small group. In a sense, except for Bai Hanmo, who was not from the sea region at all, the others were the powerhouses who would live in the entire Flourish Cloud Sea region for thousands of years in the future. Among these people, the strongest was naturally young Master Hai Long, who had a calm and experienced aura. The weakest was Yao Qian, who had just stepped into the half-step transcendence realm. However, it was already surprising that she could step into the half-step transcendence realm before so many people. These people would inevitably be wary of each other and probe each other's strength. But today, they gathered here not only because Yi Shiwen was about to come out from his closed-door cultivation, but also because Yi Shiwen was about to leave. Before the closed-door cultivation, Yi Shiwen had already informed them that after he came out, he would leave the operation center and go to the depths of the blood realm. Today was not so much to say that they were waiting for him to come out from his closed-door cultivation, but it was more of a farewell for him. For Yi Shiwen, everyone's feelings were extremely complicated. There were people like Bai Hanmo, Yao Qian, Pei Xingqian, and others who had a good relationship with him. There were also people like Jing Wuyuan, Hai Wuyo, the Boundless Sea siblings, and so on. But no matter what their feelings were, there was one point. Without Yi Shiwen, there would be no Flourishing Cloud City that they controlled today. Without Flourishing Cloud City, although they could still step into the half-step law manifestation realm, this time would definitely be delayed by an unknown amount of time. With the help of Flourishing Cloud City, it could save them a lot of time. This was a situation that they had never thought of, even the best-case scenario. And who brought all of this was naturally Yi Shiwen. If Yi Shiwen did not kill the two brothers, Bian Rang and Bian Yun, how could they have the opportunity to control the entire Flourishing Cloud City? They could even step into the half-step law manifestation realm. Now that Yi Shiwen was leaving, it was reasonable for them to send him off. They were very clear about Yi Shiwen's choice. They also knew that Yi Shiwen was right to make a fundamental leap in the blood realm. It was just that they knew he was right, but there was no way to imitate him. Compared to Yi Shiwen, they were burdened with their families. There were still many people behind them who needed them to lead. If they all left, then flourishing Cloud City would soon be subverted. At the very least, they had to wait until another batch of half-step law manifestation realm experts appeared in addition to them. Only then would they feel at ease to explore the outside world. AI, Brother Yi is leaving again. Every time we meet, it won't be long. He is leaving. Bai Hamo sighed and said. Yi Shiwen and he were very congenial. Although the time they met each time was extremely short, the relationship between them was excellent. Yao Qian's pretty face was a little gloomy. She felt a little strange in her heart. She opened her mouth, but in the end, she did not say anything. He was destined to not belong to one place. For an eagle, the vast sky was the place where he should soar. She made a decision in her heart, a decision that she had put aside for a long time. Now, don't be sad, kid. If we are fated, we will meet again sooner or later. Pei Xingqian patted his shoulder and said. Compared with others, he had a deeper feeling. Previously, Gui Yuan sect stood against the opinions of the masses. They would rather fall out with the Vanishing Shadow Poisonous Crocodile Clan and Poisonous Flaming Dragon Clan to protect Yi Shiwen. Perhaps not many people could understand at that time, but everyone understood now. As for the people and forces present, hadn't they all received great grace from him? Everyone fell into silence again. Even Bai Hamo and Pei Xingqian, who had always been talkative, did not speak much. The atmosphere at the scene suddenly became silent. Time passed by minute, just when everyone began to feel a little impatient in their hearts, secretly thinking that the time of exiting was not wrong. The courtyard door was pushed open with a creak. A cyan figure walked out from inside, but he said something nonsensical. The sun is good today. Good morning, everyone. Everyone was a little speechless, but they also threw the slightly heavy feeling into the sky and disappeared completely. Chapter 1047. In the vast and boundless blood world, the chaotic clouds pierced through the sky, and the wind blew the sand, setting off a bloody smell. The bloody smell permeated the air. Vaguely, there was a bloody smell. Although it was very faint, it did exist. On a mountain range in the blood world, Yi Shiwen stood on the peak and looked into the distance. In the blood world, everything seemed to be embedded with this bloody smell. Even in the mountain range, it was red. These stones were like the spirit stones in the outside world. They were formed in this way, in this blood-red world. He had already gotten used to it. He had left flourishing Cloud City for more than half a day. In order to find the buried treasure point on the map, he came to this mountain range that he had been to before. After careful comparison, it was exactly the same as the picture on the treasure map. He had seen Shuaishan before, so naturally, he wouldn't mistake him for someone else. After practicing martial arts, having a photographic memory was one of the greatest benefits. In other words, practicing martial arts was a process that stimulated the various potentials of a person. As for combat, it was just an accessory to this process. Through practicing martial arts, one could reach a realm that was impossible to reach in the past. The ultimate goal was to become a god from a human. For him, the entire blood world was very strange. Even if he left flourishing Cloud City, he did not know where to go in this blood world. He only knew that he had to go to the depths of the blood world, where there would be stronger masters. The treasure point shown on this map was also in the depths of the blood world, which coincided with his direction. Thinking of this, he did not hesitate and moved forward according to the marked point on this map. After confirming this, he didn't hesitate at all. He took a step forward and disappeared into the horizon. Although the ultimate goal was the treasure map and his route had been in that direction, in fact, Yi Shiwen's speed was neither fast nor slow. Along the way, he also encountered many blood fiends. Some even appeared in groups, but they were completely beheaded by Yi Shiwen and finally absorbed by Tianyuan Mirror. Although it had stepped into the peak of the human level, for Tianyuan Mirror, it was just the beginning. it was still far away. Now, Yemo was also going all out to make the entire Tianyuan mirror step into the Earth grade level. If Tianyuan mirror could step into the Earth grade level, then the entire power of the mirror would have a tremendous change. And this was exactly what Yishuan wanted. Yishuan had reached the Transcendent Realm 8th level. His combat prowess had already reached the half-step law manifestation intermediate. Although these blood beasts were ferocious, they could not pose any actual threat to him. In the end, they could only die tragically in his hands. Yishuan's Transcendent Realm 8th level realm had also slowly consolidated in these massacres. During this period of time, he had also obtained quite a number of heavenly treasures, all of which could not be seen in the outside world and could only be born in a special environment like the Blood World. After traveling in this manner for another half a month, a huge city appeared in front of Yishuan. This was a city completely shrouded in clouds and mist. In these clouds and mist, bolts of lightning constantly slid down from the sky. It was as if he had come to a sea of lightning. He came to the gathering place of another city. Compared to the flourishing cloud city, the scale of this city was at least 10 times that of the flourishing cloud city. The experts coming and going were also far stronger than the experts of the flourishing cloud city by more than a notch. Yishuan was already out of the flourished cloud city's range. Judging from the information collected by the Flourish Cloud Sea region, this city should be Sky Thunder City. Sky Thunder City belonged to a medium-sized sea region called Sky Thunder Sea region in the Endless Sea region. This was a genuine medium-sized sea region. It was different from the Typhoon Sea region, which was a step away from becoming a medium-sized sea region. Its strength was much more tyrannical. The scale of Sky Thunder City alone was far above the Flourish Cloud City. It was 10 times the size of the Flourish Cloud Sea region. It was said that the Sky Thunder Sea region was shrouded in thunder and lightning all year round. Therefore, the people in the Sky Thunder Sea region often carried the momentum of thunder and lightning. They were experts in using thunder techniques. The environment of Sky Thunder City was said to be modified by the experts of the Sky Thunder Sea region generation after generation. The people in the Sky Thunder Sea region who were good at using thunder techniques would have their combat strength doubled. Other sea region experts who were not good at using thunder techniques would be suppressed when they entered. Compared with Sky Thunder City, the Flourish Cloud City could only be regarded as a rural place. Not only was the population far less than Sky Thunder City, but the city's defense could not be modified with such great fanfare as in the Sky Thunder Sea region. At most, it was hastily reinforced. There was no way to compare with the meticulously prepared Sky Thunder City. The tyrannical strength of a medium-sized sea region was incomparable to that of a small sea region. It could even be said that the strength of a medium-sized sea region was several times the comprehensive strength of a small sea region. This was why the Typhoon Sea region had provoked the Flourished Cloud Sea region many times, and the Flourished Cloud Sea region could only swallow their anger. The difference in strength between the two sides was really too great. The Typhoon Sea region had been coveting the Flourished Cloud Sea region for a long time. What they lacked was a reason to make a move. Would the Flourished Cloud Sea region send this reason? It could not be helped that they were inferior to the Flourished Cloud Sea region. The Sky Lightning Sea region was one of the older middle-sized sea regions. In terms of strength, it was much stronger than the Typhoon Sea region. In fact, it could be said to be a top-notch colossus among the middle-sized sea regions. It had the ability to attack large sea regions. The specific embodiment of Sky Thunder Sea region's strength in the Blood Realm was this city that was more than 10 times larger than the Flourish Cloud City. The experts coming and going were all young Transcendent Realm 9th level elites. Only a few were Transcendent Realm 7th level or 8th level warriors. This was completely different from the cities built in those small sea regions. The cities built in those small sea regions were like the Flourished Cloud Sea region in the past. Occasionally, there would be 1 or 2 Transcendent Realm 9th level experts, and the rest were Transcendent Realm 8th level and 7th level experts. It was conceivable that the strength of Sky Thunder Sea region was far beyond his imagination. Thinking of this, Yishuan was a little excited. If Sky Thunder Sea region was like this, then how many experts would there be in those large sea regions and super sea regions? This trip to the Blood Realm would not be in vain. However, Yishuan noticed one thing. Among the warriors coming and going, they were all sea clans. There was not a single human. At this time, Yishuan remembered that the information provided by the Flourish Cloud Sea region mentioned that Sky Thunder Sea region was the same as Typhoon Sea region. They were extremely resistant to the entry of human clans. Typhoon Sea region had just recently expelled the existence of human clans and destroyed the human forces. On the other hand, Sky Thunder Sea region had uprooted and slaughtered the human clans many years ago. That battle resulted in rivers of blood. Hundreds of millions of human clans' corpses floated in the sea region. Most importantly, the sea clans in Sky Thunder Sea region had planned this for a long time. They wiped out the human clans in one fell swoop, not giving them any time to react at all. So, in that battle, the total number of human clans who escaped was less than 100,000. Compared with the billions of humans living in Sky Thunder Sea region at that time, this number was insignificant. Sky Thunder Sea region became famous after that battle. Yishuan frowned slightly, revealing a look of disgust. However, he did not stop. He operated the restraining breath technique and directly changed his aura into the Sea Clan's aura. For the current Yishuan, this was not difficult at all. As for his appearance, he didn't change at all. However, this didn't matter. Not all members of the sea race were covered in scales. There were many who only had a few scales. These were the nobler members of the sea race. Not only in the true martial domain, but even in the ancient Barrens continent, transforming into a human form after cultivation was a common characteristic of almost all clans. However, the human clan was a little special because they were born this way. Naturally, the clans would not admit that they had transformed into the human form. They all called it the Tao physique, which was closer to the physique of the Great Way. This was definitely not the physique of the human clan. Absolutely not. However, although the appearance was similar, the aura of the Sea Clan and the human clan were easy to distinguish and would not be confused. With Yishuan's current strength, it was not a problem to change his aura. Although he was a little disgusted, he still decided to settle down here. After a short rest, he continued to the next location. After entering the city, he realized that the city was crowded with people. It was more prosperous than it looked from the outside. However, this prosperity only belonged to the Sea Clans. There was not a single human clan. Brother, you must have just arrived at our Sky Thunder Sea region. As soon as Yishuan entered the city, a man with a cheeky smile immediately came forward and cupped his hands. Yes. Yishuan nodded his head casually. He glanced around and did not seem to care about this man. Why don't I be your guide? I guarantee that you will be satisfied. Some of the resource points near Sky Thunder City, some places where blood fiends appear, and all kinds of rumors will be available. The man squinted his eyes and said with a smile, Our fee is very cheap. Only 5,000 bloodstones will be enough. There's no need for that. Yishuan shook his head. He just wanted to stop here for a while. He had no intention of staying for a long time. These things were useless to him. Then, you can buy a copy of our information booklet. All kinds of information are very complete. This is much cheaper. It only costs 3,000 bloodstones. The man's face changed. He then took out another booklet and said, Not interested. Yishuan took a step forward and was about to walk forward. So, brother, you are not going to give us any face. Seeing that Yishuan had no intention of stopping, the man's face immediately fell and said coldly. Chapter 1048. So, brother, you're not going to give us face, said the man coldly, seeing that Yishuan didn't intend to stay at all. As soon as the man's voice fell, 5 burly men appeared at the corner of the street and surrounded Yishuan. These burly men released their tyrannical aura without hesitation. All of them were Transcendent Realm 9th level experts. Yishuan was startled. This is a forced purchase. If it were just normal times, he would let these people do as they pleased as long as they didn't provoke him. However, if they provoked him, then he didn't mind letting them know what it meant to kick an iron plate. At this time, the incident here also attracted many sea clans to watch. Human clans were not the only exception. This person is actually entangled by Gung Tianhong. If he doesn't pay up, I'm afraid he won't be able to escape. Yeah, Gung Tianhong has been doing this business for a long time. TSK, those information and the like can only be sold for 100 bloodstones, but he wants people to spend 3,000 to 5,000 bloodstones to buy it. He's really black-hearted. That's right, but it can only be said that the outsider is unlucky. At first glance, it's obvious that he's a foreigner. He's alone. It's impossible to compare with a local tyrant like Gung Tianhong. The surrounding Sea clans spoke one after another, which fell into the ears of Yi Shiwen and Gung Tianhong. Gung Tianhong didn't look ashamed at all. Instead, he looked a little proud. Such people existed in every place. However, Yi Shiwen hadn't expected that such a situation would occur in the Blood World. That was because the people who could participate in the Blood World trial were undoubtedly the elites among the elites of their respective sea domains. They were the cream of the crop among the younger generation of their respective sea domains. Yi Shiwen didn't expect Gung Tianhong to do this kind of business. Looking at Gung Tianhong's proud look, the shamelessness of the person in front of him was obviously far beyond his imagination. How about it, brother? You'd better consider whether to buy or not, right? Said Gung Tianhong with a little pride. Get lost! Yi Shiwen shouted coldly. Gung Tianhong immediately pulled a long face and said, Brat, don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Where do you think this is? This is the Heaven Thunder City, not that small place you were originally staying in. He looked at Yi Shiwen's cultivation. He was only at Transcendent Realm 8th level. For a small sea region, such a cultivation was impressive. However, for a veteran medium-sized sea region like Sky Thunder Sea region, it was not enough. Even the experts they sent were all above Transcendent Realm 9th level. In Gung Tianhong's eyes, Yi Shiwen was nothing more than a country bumpkin. This country bumpkin actually dared to reject his good intentions. As far as he was concerned, this was naturally intolerable. Scram! Yi Shiwen coldly uttered these words. His eyes were as deep as the stars, and a murderous glint flashed in his eyes. He didn't have a good impression of the Sky Thunder City in the first place. On the surface, he didn't look any different, but in fact, he was already extremely tyrannical. This Gung Tianhong actually dared to bump into the muzzle of his gun at this time. Go! I want this kid's corpse to sink into the blood river to feed the blood beasts. Gung Tianhong's face suddenly turned livid. This kid is really a hothead. This kind of person is also a foreigner. I don't mind using him to establish my prestige, lest someone dares to resist me in the future. As soon as his voice fell, among the 5 macho men surrounding Yi Shiwen, one of them moved instantly, pouncing towards Yi Shiwen. The others didn't move at all. In their opinion, Yi Shiwen was just a Transcendent Realm 8th level warrior. Any one of them could take care of him without any problem. There was no need for others to take action. The strength of that burly man wasn't too bad. His fist directly brought out boundless water vapor. These water vapor condensed in the air and formed an unknown ominous beast in the sea. It opened its ferocious mouth and suddenly rushed towards Yi Shiwen to bite him. Umph! Yi Shiwen coldly snorted. He didn't even activate the needles on his body. Instead, he simply used his hands to tear it apart. Then, he directly rushed into the bloody mouth of that beast. He exerted all his strength to tear it apart. The vicious beast was torn into powder in the air and turned into water vapor. Boom! The macho man was also knocked away. He directly spat out a mouthful of blood, suffering a serious injury. Silence. The originally bustling street suddenly quieted down. Everyone stared at the scene in front of them in a daze, as if they had seen a ghost. Some people even rubbed their eyes hard. Did they see it wrong? A Transcendent Realm 9th level expert was severely injured in an instant. The fair-skinned kid in front of them was definitely not simple. At this time, everyone remembered his identity. He was a foreigner from another place. In other places, this identity didn't seem remarkable. However, this was the Blood Realm. The distance between cities was very far. No one knew how many dangers they would encounter along the way. Even if there were people traveling everywhere, they would mostly travel in groups. For someone like him, who came from a foreign land and was alone, his strength was probably not as simple as it seemed to be. Go! Go! I want him dead! At this time, Gung Tianhong only felt that he was fooled. This kid clearly had extraordinary strength, but he only acted like a transcendent realm 8th level. If this was not the case, he would not have stared at Yi Shiwen. He felt that he had been fooled and was being watched like a monkey. Thinking of this, the anger in his heart was difficult to quell, and he could not wait to tear Yi Shiwen into pieces. Of course, he never thought that if it weren't for his greed, he wouldn't have encountered such a thing. Yi Shiwen's eyes were filled with murderous intent. In his opinion, these Sky Thunder Sea region people were jackals of the same tribe. Perhaps not everyone in Sky Thunder City was from Sky Thunder Sea region. However, Gung Tianhong's behavior alone was enough for Yi Shiwen to sentence him to death. Yi Shiwen didn't hold back. He pinched 2 fingers into a sword shape, spat out a long sword aura, and waved it suddenly. Puchi! The sword aura directly penetrated the throat of a macho man who pounced on him. The macho man's eyes were still wide open even in death. He didn't expect that he would die in the hands of this inconspicuous transcendent realm 8th level kid. The surrounding Sea Clan experts trembled in their hearts. A transcendent realm 9th level expert was directly beheaded by him with a single slash. Such a ruthless heart and vicious means. Such a character was not to be trifled with. Initially, some people were pitying Yi Shiwen because he had run into Gung Tianhong. So, they wanted to spend money to get rid of this disaster. But now, there was only one thought left in everyone's mind, and that was Gung Tianhong had bumped into a nail and kicked an iron board. The man in front of him was obviously different from those who had been bullied by him in the past. This was a killing god. Yi Shiwen's movements didn't stop. His figure flickered, and he had already pounced in front of another macho man. His long sword slashed directly from the bottom up. Puchi! The macho man was cut in half on the spot. He had no power to fight back at all. Gung Tianhong and the other 2 experts were screaming at this time. They couldn't keep up with Yi Shiwen's speed. They could only watch helplessly as Yi Shiwen beheaded their companions one by one. Puchi! Another macho man's forehead was pierced by Yi Shiwen's sword aura. He didn't hold back at all. Yi Shiwen was like a cold killing machine. He was precise and didn't waste any extra power. With just a simple sword, he could kill someone. This was the highest realm of swordsmanship, the killing sword. It was also an unorthodox sword intent. The swordsmanship was cultivated for nothing else but to kill. Yi Shiwen didn't stop. Under the last macho man's horrified eyes, the sword aura penetrated his neck. Although the macho man struggled hard, his speed was no match for Yi Shiwen. He could only see the sword light flashing, and Yi Shiwen had already beheaded him. Yi Shiwen stopped and looked around. Gung Tianhong had already turned around and was about to escape. At this time, how could he not understand that he had really kicked an iron plate? The Yi Shiwen in front of him, in his eyes, was probably a killing god from hell. He wanted to send everyone to hell. Want to leave? Yi Shiwen just said indifferently. He took a step forward, and his figure had already chased far away. In an instant, he had caught up with Gung Tianhong. The surrounding sea race people made way for him. They didn't dare to stand in front of Yi Shiwen at all, lest they were accidentally killed by his sword aura. When Gung Tianhong saw Yi Shiwen chasing behind him, he was suddenly scared to death. At this time, he couldn't care less. He shouted, "You can't kill me. You can't kill me. Give me a reason not to kill you." A playful smile flashed across Yi Shiwen's mouth. "Your 5 men have already gone down. You should go and accompany them." Because, Gung Tianhong murmured. Suddenly, his figure leaped like a tiger, pouncing towards Yi Shiwen. His eyes were bloodshot. He looked at Yi Shiwen with an abnormally ferocious gaze. "Because you are going to die in my hands." A dagger suddenly appeared in Gung Tianhong's hand, and he suddenly stabbed towards Yi Shiwen. The dagger was stained with poison, and it instantly cut through the air. Although Gung Tianhong was doing business without capital, he was also extremely strong in terms of strength. He had long been at the Transcendent Realm 9th level peak. Seeing that the dagger was about to fall on his body, Yi Shiwen finally moved. He flipped his palm, and the sword aura suddenly swept out. It directly deflected the dagger that was stabbing down, and then the sword aura suddenly slashed towards Geng Tianhong. "Stop! Who dares to fight in my Sky Thunder City?" Suddenly, a shout came from the horizon. Chapter 1049. Stop! Who dares to make a move in my Sky Thunder City? Suddenly, a shout came from the horizon. Yi Shiwen's expression changed slightly, but the sword aura in his hand did not stop at all. It directly slashed into Geng Tianhong's body. Puff! Geng Tianhong's body was split in half on the spot. His spirit was instantly crushed into pieces, and blood splattered all over the street. Everyone was dumbfounded as they watched Yi Shiwen beheading these people like chopping melons and vegetables. They all looked at the scene dumbfoundedly. Damn, is this also Transcendent Realm 8th level? Many people had an unrealistic and illusory feeling. If these were all Transcendent Realm 8th level, then the Transcendent Realm 9th level experts, had lived in vain. They had lived all these years in vain. It would be fine if Yi Shiwen was only average. However, Yi Shiwen's prowess far exceeded their imagination. 6 Transcendent Realm 9th level experts were slaughtered like chickens and dogs by Yi Shiwen. Brutal. This person was simply too savage. Seeing that Yi Shiwen ignored him, the owner of the voice suddenly became angry. A terrifying sword aura slid down from the sky and rushed straight towards Yi Shiwen. He did not hold back at all. He wanted to behead Yi Shiwen on the spot. Yi Shiwen just tapped his toes lightly, and his figure flashed away, avoiding the deadly sword aura attack. Boom! This sword aura directly blasted a big hole in the ground. Yi Shiwen looked up and saw a man in yellow clothes, holding a giant sword that was as tall as his body, staring at Yi Shiwen coldly. "Who are you?" Yi Shiwen asked faintly. "I am Sky Thunder City's Deputy City Lord, Huang Shui. Who are you? How dare you cause trouble in my Sky Thunder Sea region?" The man in yellow clothes looked at Yi Shiwen coldly, a little annoyed. Yi Shiwen didn't give him any face at all. He didn't listen at all when he asked him to stop. "Why didn't you come out earlier?" Yi Shiwen's mouth twitched and said coldly, "These people have been causing trouble here for a long time. Why didn't you come out to deal with them? Now you know to come out. No matter what, even if these people deserve to die, they are still people of my Sky Thunder Sea region. Since when did you, a fellow from another sea region, get involved?" Huang Shui sneered. His tone was tyrannical, not allowing for any questioning. In his opinion, even if there was a problem with Geng Tianhong, it was an internal matter of their sea region. How could they allow people from other sea regions to interfere? The Sky Thunder Sea region had been the overlord of the nearby sea regions for many years. Even among the middle-sized sea regions, it was a well-known and powerful sea region. Unless it was a large sea region, they would not pay any attention to it. Since they're all dead, then you'll have to pay with your life, Huang Shui simply said, and sentenced Yi Shiwen to death. He didn't ask for the reason, and didn't need to ask for the reason. Tremendous Zhen Yuan burst out of his body and hovered around his body. The Zhen Yuan contained the power of thunder and lightning, and a series of crackling noises could be heard from time to time. Almost in an instant, the Zhen Yuan on his body turned into a thunder sword aura, and it struck down towards Yi Shiwen. The thunder sword aura shone brightly. The power of the thunder sword aura was unimaginable. It had to be said that although Huang Shui was tyrannical and unreasonable, his strength was real and extremely powerful. His attack was astonishing, and the likes of Geng Tianhong couldn't be compared to him at all. They weren't even worthy of carrying his shoes. This was definitely an expert who had reached the peak of half-step law manifestation realm initial stage. He was even stronger than Sea Dragon Young Master. One could only imagine how high it was. The Sky Thunder Sea region was indeed a top middle-sized sea region that far exceeded the Tai Feng Sea region in strength. A random deputy city lord had such strength. It could be seen that the city lord of this city was even more powerful. However, the anger in Yi Shiwen's heart couldn't be quelled at this time. This person attacked him without asking for a reason. If it wasn't for his speed, This attack was enough to kill a half-step Transcendence Realm expert on the spot if he was caught off guard. Facing such an indiscriminate city lord, the anger in his heart could be imagined. Although he was a little afraid of the Sky Thunder City's city lord who had yet to show himself, it was only a little fear. With Yi Shiwen's strength, even if he was not the city lord's opponent, it would not be a problem for him to escape unscathed. Yi Shiwen didn't make any movements, but his palm was instantly ignited with raging flames. It turned into a long saber, and he instantly blasted it out. Boom! The saber and the sword collided in the sky, and the entire sky seemed to tremble at this moment. The horrifying shockwave made the surrounding Transcendent Realm experts feel unsteady. At this time, they all retreated, not daring to intervene in the battle between these two terrifying experts. Under the haste, it was actually a tie. At this time, how could everyone not understand that Yi Shiwen in front of them was definitely not an easy opponent? Although they didn't know how powerful Yi Shiwen was, they knew how powerful Huang Shuyi was. He could even withstand Huang Shuyi's attack. It was imaginable that even if Yi Shiwen's strength was not as good as Huang Shuyi's, he had probably entered the half-step law manifestation realm. Such a person was actually extorted by Geng Tianhong. Thinking about it now, it was laughable. It was laughable that Geng Tianhong thought that he had unparalleled foresight and wouldn't provoke someone he didn't dare to provoke. Who knew that he would kick a titanium alloy plate like Yi Shiwen? Not only did his leg break, but his entire body was also shocked to death by the recoil. If Geng Tianhong knew about this, he would definitely curse out loud. Are you a pig? If you have such strength, why don't you hang a sign and write it out? But in any case, what was done could not be undone. Geng Tianhong was already dead. At this time, everyone began to envy the burly man who was the first to be sent flying by Yi Shiwen. In the situation where the other 5 were beheaded, although he was also seriously injured, it was better than dying on the spot. Huang Shuyi was a little surprised when he saw that Yi Shiwen could actually withstand his sword. Then, he snorted coldly. The long sword in his hand formed a sword flower, and then the tip of the sword instantly burst out with endless sword light. In an instant, it slashed horizontally towards Yi Shiwen. Insignificant skill, Yi Shiwen snorted directly. Without stopping at all, the flames on the long flame saber in his hand suddenly gushed out like a volcanic eruption. The long flame saber instantly slashed down towards the sword light. Boom! The sword light was actually destroyed by the flame saber light in an instant. Then, the flame saber aura slashed towards Huang Shuyi again, as if it was not disturbed much. Huang Shuyi moved sideways and dodged the slash of the flame saber. Boom! The long flame saber exploded in midair, collapsing a part of the blood chi in the sky. You do have some skill, but you're definitely not my opponent. I will let you die without a burial place today. Huang Shuyi saw that he could not defeat Yi Shiwen in a few moves, and he was even counterattacked by Yi Shiwen. He suddenly became a little anxious, and there was a bit of anger in his heart. He felt as if he had been slapped in the face. He flipped his palm, and the long sword in his hand began to buzz. Then, the countless power of thunder and lightning in the world began to be guided by an unknown force, and suddenly poured into the long sword in his hand. The momentum was extremely terrifying. Even a half-step to the Transcendence Realm expert would die on the spot if he was hit by it. In Sky Thunder City, although it was not as good as Sky Thunder Sea region, in this sky of thunder and lightning created by the formation, his swordsmanship had skyrocketed to a terrifying realm. Sky Thunder Roar! The sword light suddenly spurted over and turned into a chaotic thunder dragon. In the air, it was mixed with sharp sword aura and slashed horizontally towards Yi Shiwen. I've said it before, these are just insignificant tricks. You're just daydreaming if you think you can defeat me with these. Yi Shiwen sneered. The fiery long saber in his hand became more vigorous. It expanded with the wind, and then slashed towards the sword light. Boom! Yi Shiwen's fiery long saber slashed all the way with unmatched momentum. Those thunder dragons transformed by the sword light were not a match for Yi Shiwen's fiery long saber at all. They were slaughtered by the fiery saber aura one by one. Boom! With a huge explosion, Those thunder dragons were instantly beheaded, unable to approach Yi Shiwen at all. What kind of saber technique is this? How can it be so powerful? This is impossible. My swordsmanship has long reached the human-level pinnacle level. How can I not even block his saber? Huang Shuyi's eyes were still filled with disbelief. He couldn't believe that the opponent in front of him was a transcendent realm, 8th level kid. Not only did Yi Shiwen exceed his expectations, but more importantly, how could he not even block this kid's saber? The sword light was instantly defeated. Suppression, crushing. The saber light instantly crushed Huang Shuyi's body. All the defenses on his body were shattered in an instant. Boom! Huang Shuyi's body suddenly flew out like a kite with a broken string. Hiss, is this person a monster? Even Huang Shuyi can't block his saber technique. Many Sea Clan experts who were watching the battle were scared to death. They were almost scared silly. They were very clear about Huang Shuyi's strength, but he was still not Yi Shiwen's opponent. Who the hell is this guy? Yi Shiwen's offensive had not stopped yet. He was about to attack again. However, he heard a voice that was as gentle as jade. Friend, please be merciful. Immediately afterward, another figure leaped over. It was a Sea Clan youth in white. He came in front of Yi Shiwen with a smile and said to Yi Shiwen. Chapter 1050. Who are you? Yi Shiwen put away his saber and asked indifferently. He didn't feel anything. I'm Lin Fenghua. The man in white introduced himself indifferently. In Sky Thunder City, I'm the first deputy city lord. The man in white was just like his name. Just from his appearance, he had a peerless charm. His speech also made people feel like they were bathing in the spring breeze, quite similar to the feeling of Sea Dragon Prince. Yi Shiwen, be careful of this person. I feel that he is not friendly to you. At this time, Yi Mo's reminder appeared in Yi Shiwen's mind. Yi Shiwen quietly sensed for a while. Sure enough, although it was very faint, Yi Shiwen still felt a faint murderous intent from him. Because of the cultivation of the restraining breath technique, Yi Shiwen was particularly sensitive to these murderous intents. Even if it was not directed at him, he could feel it immediately, let alone this kind of murderous intent. He didn't pay too much attention just now. Now that he was reminded by Yi Mo, he immediately noticed the faint murderous intent from him. Yi Shiwen's vigilance in his heart was immediately raised to the highest. This kind of hypocrite was the most terrifying to Yi Shiwen. It was much more difficult to deal with than those who were really vile, because you didn't know when he would stab you. However, his face was still calm, as if he didn't notice the murderous intent at all. Then he just said indifferently, "So it's Brother Lin. May I know your name?" Lin Fenghua grinned and said in a gentle tone. Unfortunately, in Yi Shiwen's eyes, he had already exposed his murderous intent. He was simply smiling ferociously, without any concealment. Yi Shiwen said indifferently. In his heart, he was planning to wait until he settled down a little, then quickly leave to find the treasure map. That was the most important thing. Everything else was not important at all, and it would also save him from unnecessary trouble. Brother Yi, you have good skills. I wonder if you are interested in joining our Sky Thunder City. Let's not talk about anything else. A deputy city lord position is waiting for you. Lin Fenghua said with a smile, and didn't mention a word about Geng Tianhong and the others that Yi Shiwen had just killed. It seemed as if these things had never happened. He had a respectful appearance, but in Yi Shiwen's eyes, he seemed even more ruthless and full of honeyed words. However, Yi Shiwen could tell that Lin Fenghua, the first deputy city lord, had an extremely high status in the Sky Thunder City. She could even make a decision on her own to give out the position of deputy city lord. Let's not talk about how sincere he was in recruiting him, but he had done enough. I'm sorry, I'm used to being alone. I'm not used to joining forces, Yi Shiwen faintly said. He had directly blocked his path. He simply didn't want to continue using his body protection technique. Lin Fenghua's complexion changed slightly. It seemed that she hadn't expected that Yi Shiwen would refuse so straightforwardly. One must know that this wasn't an ordinary small sea region. It was the Sky Thunder City that was established in the Sky Thunder Sea region, which could be considered as the peak among the medium-sized sea regions. Moreover, He was the deputy city lord who was second only to one person. This was a very attractive position for anyone. However, no one had expected that Yi Shiwen would refuse it without even thinking about it. Although there were still large sea regions above it, there were many experts in those large sea regions. With his strength, it was impossible for him to become the deputy city lord. What was the point? As the saying goes, it's better to be the head of a chicken than the tail of a phoenix. There was no reason for Yi Shiwen not to understand this truth. In that case, we won't force you. Today's matter is our fault. I hope you can forgive us. Lin Fenghua said while cupping his hands. Lin Fenghua's behavior immediately aroused the goodwill of the other sea clans who were watching. At least he looked gentle like a jade, which was his current image. On the contrary, Yi Shiwen seemed like a rash youth who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. He actually rejected Lin Fenghua's invitation. City Lord Lin is still so courteous. Even I can't help but admire such an outstanding person. Yeah, what do you mean by the ancient leadership style? This is the ancient leadership style. That Yi Shiwen really doesn't know what's good for him. He actually rejected the position of deputy city lord. I really don't know if his brain is caught in the door. That was the position of deputy city lord. If it were any of them, they would laugh until they fell to the ground. However, with their cultivation, it was impossible for them to be invited to become deputy city lords. There were many people like them in Sky Thunder City. Yi Shiwen didn't change because of Lin Fenghua's behavior. He just said, in that case, I will give you face. I will not care about this matter. But if there is a next time, don't blame the long saber in my hand for being merciless. That's for sure, Lin Fenghua said with a smile, as if he was not angered by the rash youth Yi Shiwen at all. Seeing Yi Shiwen disappear at the corner of the street, the surrounding onlookers also dispersed one after another. Although in their opinion, Lin Fenghua was courteous and approachable, but in any case, he was the first deputy city lord, so who would dare to stay and watch him? When everyone left, Lin Fenghua's face suddenly sank. You let him go just like that? Huang Shuyi looked coldly in the direction where Yi Shiwen left. Since he embarked on the martial arts path, he had never been so embarrassed. In the short time that he fought with Yi Shiwen just now, he was completely suppressed by Yi Shiwen. It could even be said that he had no power to fight back. Yi Shiwen had made him lose face in public. One could imagine how intense the hatred in his heart was towards Yi Shiwen. What else can I do? The city lord is still in closed-door cultivation. After all, he hasn't come out yet. There is still some time left. That kid is very strange. Although he doesn't seem to have even reached the half-step law phase realm. If we really fight, I may not be able to kill him. Lin Fenghua faintly said. He felt an extremely dangerous aura coming from Yi Shiwen's body. Of course, he didn't think that he couldn't beat Yi Shiwen. At most, he felt that there was no way to kill Yi Shiwen easily. And his character had always been planning before taking action. He would never do things that he was not sure of. He knew Yi Shiwen's character very well. He was ruthless and vengeful. He was definitely not a broad-minded person. In other words, if such a person was really offended, then there was only one way. It was to kill him with lightning speed. This kind of future trouble must not be left alive. If he made a move just now, although he was confident that he could defeat Yi Shiwen, if he couldn't kill him, then what was the point of everything? Even you? Huang Shuyi was slightly surprised. Although they were all deputy city lords, he knew that Lin Fenghua in front of him was the only first deputy city lord. His strength was more than a level higher than the deputy city lords. He had already steadily entered the half-step law phase realm middle stage. In Sky Thunder City, his strength was second only to the city lord who was in closed-door cultivation. In Sky Thunder Sea region, he was also one of the top geniuses of the younger generation. Even so, we can also gather others to surround and kill him here. This kind of person is definitely a future trouble. We can't let him live for long. Huang Shi said, I know this kind of person is vengeful. You just offended him. On the surface, it seems like nothing happened, but you don't know how jealous he is. I don't agree to offend this kind of person, but since you have offended him, you have to eliminate him. Lin Fenghua squinted his eyes and said, The killing intent in his eyes was no longer concealed and suppressed. It bloomed directly. He had a good understanding of Yi Shiwen's character. Such a person should not be easily offended. However, since he had offended him, he had to eliminate the root of the problem and not leave any future trouble. But this matter needs to be considered for a long time. We must have a complete plan and kill him in one fell swoop. We can't let him escape. Otherwise, we may not stop until one of us is dead. Lin Fenghua said, but I feel that this person is a little strange. It feels more like... Huang Shi squinted his eyes and said, more like those humans. In short, he doesn't look like our Sea clan. This is nothing. His aura is indeed the aura of our Sea clan. However, it might be related to staying with those humans for a long time. Humph, so many Sea clans and humans have been living together for a long time. So much so that they have given birth to some bastards with impure bloodlines. They have already fallen into depravity. Lin Fenghua coldly snorted and said. Huang Shui nodded and said. It was obvious that he was very much in agreement. Go and get ready. There will be a big auction tomorrow. Whether you can get something good or not will depend on yourself. Lin Fenghua indifferently said. Huang Shui didn't continue speaking. Their relationship wasn't that good. In the Sky Thunder Sea region, they were still rivals. It was precisely because they had been rivals for so many years that he knew Lin Fenghua's true colors even better than before. They seemed to be very close now. However, Yi Shiwen hadn't truly relaxed for a moment. It was like a beautiful poisonous tongue. No one knew when it would bite you. Moreover, it was a venomous snake. Once you were stabbed by it, it would be an extremely fatal matter. Yi Shiwen walked past the corner of the street. He turned around and disappeared into the crowd. In his mind, he was talking to Yi Shiwen. Those two people have bad intentions towards you. Moreover, they are very likely to stab you in the back. I don't know what kind of conspiracy they are plotting. Yi said. I know, but it's fine if I don't know. Now that I know, it's impossible for them to succeed. I didn't make a move just now because I'm afraid of the city lord who hasn't shown himself. Otherwise, those two wouldn't be a match for me at all. That Lin Fenghua thinks that she's hidden well, but she's just seeking death. Yi Shiwen sneered and said, I don't have time to tangle with them. If they don't know what's good for them, then I will send them on their way. Chapter 10:51. Yi Shiwen knew that he was not a broad-minded person. Lin Fenghua was very accurate about him. In fact, he was such a person, as long as one did not provoke him, he would be easy to talk to. However, if one provoked him, he did not mind letting the other party know what it meant to break one's leg by kicking an iron plate. Since he knew that the other party might be plotting against him, Yi Shiwen naturally would not be polite. It was just that he was still more afraid of the city lord who had not shown his face yet. Although Lin Fenghua's strength was hidden very well, he still saw it. A half-step law manifestation realm intermediate master was actually only the first deputy city lord. It could be seen that the city lord's strength was above him. As for the strength of the city lord, he was only guessing, but he was afraid that the city lord had already stepped into the peak of half-step law manifestation realm intermediate, or even a half-step law manifestation realm late master. Facing such an expert, it was never too much to be careful. Although he was confident that he could escape unscathed, he did not want to be chased like a stray dog. Otherwise, he would not let Huang Shui go so easily. Naturally, he had 1,000 considerations. He just wanted to stay in Sky Thunder City for a while. He did not want to be entangled here. However, if the other party still wanted to plot against him and deal with him, then he could only make a move. It was not Yi Shiwen's style to passively take a beating without fighting back. Yi Shiwen looked for an inn to settle down, ordered some food, and sat quietly. I must buy a suitable martial instrument at tomorrow's auction. I heard that there are a lot of martial instruments being auctioned this time. I still want to buy some treasures that can enhance my cultivation. Unfortunately, I can only use bloodstones to trade here. It would be great if I could trade with spirit crystals. Who still uses spirit crystals now? Do we lack this kind of thing? We can have as many as we want. The truly precious bloodstones are still the ones that can directly enhance cultivation. Although there are not many, if accumulated, it is absolutely considerable. Auction? Yi Shiwen knitted his brows. There was actually an auction here tomorrow. This kind of auction was also held in flourishing Cloud City. Many people found a lot of divine tools or heavenly treasures and so on outside. Those that they could not use would be taken out for auction or sold in the bazaar. These were also allowed in flourishing Cloud City. Of course, the higher-ups of flourishing Cloud City would definitely collect a certain proportion of taxes. In the blood world, there were many treasures that couldn't be seen in the outside world. They were extremely precious because these treasures were born from blood chi. Therefore, they had the effect of increasing one's cultivation. In the outside world, these treasures were absolutely rare. However, in the blood world, there were many of them. There were also many magic tools and weapons left behind by the geniuses who had entered countless years ago. These were all things that everyone was after. If he couldn't use it, he would sell it in the auction house. However, the blood world was different from the outside world in that it only accepted bloodstones and not spiritual crystals. Those who were able to enter the blood world were mostly the top geniuses and geniuses of the major forces. Needless to say, their wealth was naturally not to be underestimated. The major forces would definitely not mistreat them. Everyone had a lot of spiritual crystals on them. Therefore, in the blood world, spirit crystals were not very popular, and no one was willing to buy them. Only the bloodstones in the blood world were the real hard currency. If he wanted to buy anything, he would have to use bloodstones to exchange for it. This was probably the so-called the rarer something is, the greater its value. As soon as he heard that there was an auction, Yi Shiwen's heart moved. He originally planned to leave after a short rest. Now he immediately decided to consider leaving after the auction was over. Although his current wealth could not be considered as being as rich as a country, he had more than 5 million bloodstones alone. Before leaving, young Master Hai Long and the others gave Yi Shiwen another 3 million bloodstones. Therefore, Yi Shiwen could be said to be very rich now. After making up his mind, Yi Shiwen decided to stay in this inn. It was a quiet night. Soon it was the next day. Many people got up early in the morning and rushed to the auction. In Sky Thunder City, such an auction was also the focus of everyone's attention. In Sky Thunder City, it was far from just those people from Sky Thunder Sea region. Dozens of experts from the nearby sea regions had gathered together. When these people rushed to the auction house, it could be imagined how lively the situation would be. Many people who were originally looking for various treasures and fortuitous encounters outside, as well as experts who were cultivating in seclusion in the city, had all gathered here, making the entire Sky Thunder City seem to be much more lively than usual. Yi Shiwen blended in with these people and entered the auction house. The entire auction house seemed very grand. After many generations of hard work, it would only be activated when the Blood Realm opened. Hence, it was not shabby at all. The people from Sky Thunder Sea region are here. Just as everyone was taking their seats, there was a noise coming from the passage. Everyone looked over and saw that the experts of the Sky Thunder Sea region had actually arrived. Although it was called the Sky Thunder City, in reality, the people of the Sky Thunder Sea region only took up a few tenths of the total population, especially the higher-ups of the Sky Thunder Sea region. Under normal circumstances, these higher-ups would rarely appear together like this. Obviously, there must be something that would interest them in this auction. That was why they all showed up together. The two people leading the Sky Thunder Sea region were Lin Fenghua and Huang Shi. In addition to the two of them, about 5 or 6 half-step law manifestation experts appeared, following behind the two. In addition, there were about 20 Transcendent Realm 9th level peak experts. Each of them was a top genius. Although they had not entered the half-step law manifestation realm, judging from their aura, they were only a little bit away from entering the half-step law manifestation realm. They could enter at any time. The strength of Sky Thunder Sea region far surpassed the small sea region, like the Flourished Cloud Sea region. Although the Flourished Cloud Sea region was considered to be on the rise with a group of top geniuses, such as young Master Sea Dragon, there was still a huge gap compared to the top Sky Thunder Sea region among the medium-sized sea regions. Yi Shiwen couldn't imagine how many geniuses would be born in those large sea regions and super sea regions. The Endless Sea region was so vast that it was comparable to the true martial domain. With so many creatures, there would be more geniuses. Lin Fenghua saw Yi Shiwen at a glance in the crowd. He walked to Yi Shiwen's side with a smile and said, "Brother Yi, we meet again. It's fate. Brother Yi is also here to participate in this auction." Yi Shiwen wanted to say, "Nonsense. If I'm not here to participate in the auction, then why am I here?" But in the end, he just nodded silently. He didn't want to say anything and sat straight in his seat. Seeing that Yi Shiwen was so arrogant, the Sky Thunder Sea region experts showed a bit of anger. Yi Shiwen's arrogance made Lin Fenghua feel a little embarrassed. Now Lin Fenghua not only represented himself, but also Sky Thunder Sea region. Is he trying to embarrass Sky Thunder Sea region? People from other sea regions were also puzzled. Who is this person? He actually dared to be so disrespectful to Lin Fenghua. One must know that Lin Fenghua was the first deputy city lord of this city. When the city lord was in closed-door cultivation, everything was decided by him. Even if he was not in closed-door cultivation, he still had a lot of say. In this regard, others were indignant, but Lin Fenghua didn't seem to care. It was just that for a moment, when everyone couldn't see it, his face turned gloomy and the killing intent on his body condensed even more. But it was just for a moment. Then it was as if nothing had happened. He led the people of Sky Thunder Sea region into the box and sat down. After the Sky Thunder Sea region, a large number of experts came. It was just a matter of time. Among them, there were many half-step law manifestation realm experts. Yi Shiwen saw more than a dozen half-step law manifestation realm experts. These were not the experts of Sky Thunder Sea region. It could only be said that Sky Thunder City was far more prosperous than Flourishing Cloud City. It was not something that Flourishing Cloud City could compare with. Hello, everyone. I'm very happy that everyone can participate in our somewhat sudden auction. As for the contents of this auction, I will not say much. Let's begin. The host of this auction was a young man from the Sea Clan. He did things straightforwardly and without any sloppiness. He was also very experienced in hosting such auctions. I believe that many people will be very interested in the first item. With the words of this young man from the Sea Clan, many people's minds were on tenterhooks. What item would make them interested? That is a damaged Earth rank weapon, a damaged magic sword. As soon as the young man from the Sea Clan finished speaking, there was a sudden exclamation in the venue. An Earth-level weapon, even if it was only broken, was still very precious to them. Even many experts in the law manifestation realm didn't have an Earth-level magic tool, and those who could obtain an Earth-level magic tool under the law manifestation realm were extremely rare. It was extremely rare for someone like Yi Shiwen to have several of them. It immediately caused countless people to compete for it. The voices of bidding came one after another. The bidding price pushed all the way up and soon exceeded 500,000 bloodstones. For ordinary warriors, this was already the best they could do. For top experts like Lin Fenghua and Yi Shiwen, it was not a large number. It was just that they often had their own Earth-level weapon, so there was no need to buy such a broken weapon. In the end, this weapon was bought by a half-step law manifestation expert. It was considered the first climax of this auction. Like most auctions, heaven and earth treasures were constantly taken out for auction. However, other than the broken Earth-level weapon, Yi Shiwen was not interested in the rest. Chapter 1052. Yi Shiwen wasn't interested in these small things. However, the atmosphere at the scene was very enthusiastic. Many sea race experts were scrambling to bid and buy these items. The auction had been going on for nearly half of the time. Those ordinary sea race experts were frequently bidding, but the top experts of the major sea regions hadn't made a move yet. They seemed to be waiting for the final auction item. However, this was the normal process of an ordinary auction. The most important items were always placed at the end. Well, everyone, let's welcome our next auction item. This auction item is different from the previous ones. It's a living creature. The face of that sea race youth revealed a somewhat ambiguous expression. Everyone was somewhat puzzled. Even Yi Shiwen was somewhat interested. Generally speaking, there weren't many opportunities to auction a living creature in an auction. However, he soon saw what it was. It should be said that it wasn't an item, but a human figure. It was a woman in her 20s. Her clothes were tattered. From time to time, One could vaguely see her snow-white skin through her tattered clothes. Her delicate face was full of stubbornness. However, her shoulder blades had been completely locked up. Her entire person looked like she didn't have any imposing manner at all. However, what made Yi Shiwen frown on the spot was that this woman wasn't of the sea race. She was actually a human. Many times, the human race and the sea race were very similar. This was especially true for those high-level sea race experts. As their cultivation continued to improve, they would slowly develop in the direction of Tao body. In other words, they would become more and more like humans. However, in any case, this couldn't cover up the fact that they weren't humans. The aura of different races was completely different. Yi Shiwen could only cover up and imitate them. He couldn't change the aura of his own race. This woman's aura was definitely that of a human. In other words, these sea race experts were actually using this human woman as an auction item on the spot. Yi Shiwen's heart was suddenly filled with anger. Bang! The armrest beside his hand was directly crushed by him. He stared straight at the human woman in the distance. Everyone can see it. Yes, this is a human woman. The sea race youth smiled faintly. However, many sea race experts in the audience were somewhat puzzled. The conflict between the sea race and the human race had always existed throughout the Endless Sea region. Basically, it wasn't just a day or two for them to attack each other. These were the top experts of the younger generation of each sea region. With their ability and magical powers, it wasn't a problem for them to get 1 or 2 human slaves, even if they were as beautiful as a fairy. Not to mention 1 or 2, even 1 or 200, even 1 or 2,000 wouldn't matter. But now, they actually saw a human woman being auctioned here. They suddenly felt a little puzzled. Yi Shiwen suppressed his anger, and his eyes became calm and cold. Everyone must be very curious. What is there to auction about this human woman, right? The young man from the sea race continued. The reason why this woman from the human race can be auctioned is because she is not simple. She has a rare 9-ene origin body in the human race. Once a person with such a body cultivates, their cultivation speed will be incomparably fast. Hearing this, everyone's breathing quickened. They seem to have thought of something. Just as everyone thought, this human girl's physique is the 9-ene source body, and she is still a virgin. Her primordial ene is still there. Whoever can obtain the red ball will not only be able to improve their physique, but most importantly, as long as they have not entered the law phase realm, they will be able to increase by 1 level. The sea race youth said in a bewitching manner. The entire auction house was immediately filled with heavy breathing. Many of the sea race youths had lustful expressions on their faces as they stared at the woman on the stage. At their level of cultivation, it wasn't that they weren't lustful, but it was very rare for their lustfulness to affect their rational judgment. Virginity, primordial ene, and red pellet were not worth mentioning in their eyes. If they wanted to, they could play with different tricks day and night. However, their cultivation base suddenly increased by 1 level out of nowhere. This immediately made them unable to remain calm. Especially those young experts who had been stuck in the Transcendent Realm 9th level for many years. They were even more excited. Although there was only a difference of 1 realm, the treatment between the Transcendent Realm 9th level and half-step law phase initial was earth-shaking. It could even be said that the treatment was not on the same level at all. Yi Shiwen's breathing also became heavy, but he was angry. Yi Shiwen, this is a great opportunity. 9-ene origin body, not only in the human race, but also in all the other races, this kind of physique is very rare. The most important thing for them is the first time they get the red ball. Yi Mo immediately bewitched Yi Shiwen. For him, he was only loyal to Yi Shiwen. There was no difference between the human clan, demon clan, and sea clan. Not only that, but he even had many ways to concoct human medicine in his mind, which could make use of these physiques to the extreme. For a peerless demon lord like him, as long as it could increase his strength, there was no sin at all. However, he also knew Yi Shiwen's temper and character. Yi Shiwen seemed to be ruthless and vengeful. Whoever offended him would not be kind to him. However, the premise was that whoever offended him first. Some suggestions could only rot in his stomach, and he would not tell Yi Shiwen. There is the 9 yin source body. Is there also the 9 yang source body? Yi Xuan did not answer Yi Mo's question, but asked another question instead. This is natural. There is yin in this world. Naturally, there is yang. These physiques exist in all clans, but they are different from each other. For example, the devil race was born because of the great yin force. Therefore, they can only produce the 9 yin source body, but not the 9 yang source body. Only the human race has a balance of the 5 elements, and the yin and yang are integrated. Therefore, they can produce all kinds of physiques. Yi Mo explained in high spirits. Yi Xuan had also encountered some of these special physiques. However, these physiques were mutated because of the ancestral bloodline. For example, Huang Minghan's bloodline and the second god's Titan body. The other type of physique was Yi Xuan's. It was acquired through cultivation and forcibly changed the genes to give birth to a physique like the tyrant body. However, Yi Xuan had never seen this kind of innate physique because the birth of this type of physique was much younger than the previous 2 types. There was no sign at all. Their parents might only have a mediocre bloodline, and their descendants might not inherit this bloodline. Yi Xuan felt that this kind of physique was born because of a sudden genetic mutation. 9 yin source body. I believe that everyone here knows about it as well as I do. So, I won't talk much nonsense. Now let's start the auction. Our starting price is 500,000 bloodstones. The Sea Race youth said. This price suddenly made many of the excited Sea Race experts feel as if a bucket of cold water had been poured down their throats. 500,000 bloodstones. Perhaps this price was still bearable for the top Heaven's Pride experts. However, this price had already exceeded their entire net worth. Even if some of the wealthier experts among these people had 500,000 bloodstones, it was still useless because this was just the starting price. They had already tried their best to raise the starting price, let alone the others. 600,000. At this time, an expert of half-step law characteristic realm shouted. 700,000. 800,000. 1 million. The price of this female slave had quickly exceeded 1 million. After the price exceeded 1 million, the speed of the price increase obviously slowed down. It was not because they did not want to obtain this rare 9 yin origin form, but because they did not have enough bloodstones. Even if they condensed bloodstones day and night, they did not have many. If they used spirit crystals to trade, the price would have easily exceeded 100 million spirit crystals by now. At this time, Yi Xuan opened his mouth. 5 million. Yi Xuan raised the price by 300,000 as soon as he opened his mouth. With his current net worth, this was far from his limit. 6 million. At this time, a high-level Sea Race expert in a private room spoke. At this time, the only people who could still speak were the high-level Sea Race experts in the private rooms. Other than Yi Xuan, there was no one else. 2 million. Yi Xuan raised the price to 2 million without batting an eyelid. Hearing many people bidding for her, the pretty woman's stubborn face did not change at all. There was only numbness on her face, as if she was already used to it. All the strength in her body had been locked by the shackles on her shoulder blades. It was difficult for her to even move, as if she did not want to think about these things at all. 1 million. I want to use this human to refine human medicine. Stop fighting. At this time, an insolent voice sounded from a private room. Obviously, it was also a high-level Sea Race expert. 2 million. Another voice came from a private room. Are you the only one who knows how to refine human medicine? We also have our own exclusive secret recipe. These people had long regarded this woman in front of them as a human medicine, not a human. Moreover, even if she was a human, in their eyes, perhaps she was just a bunch of ants. 3 million. Yi Xuan indifferently said another number. Suddenly, the whole place quieted down. Countless gazes looked over. They didn't know who this ordinary-looking young man was. He had unexpectedly taken out 3 million bloodstones so easily. It should be known that even the young experts of the upper echelons of the various seas couldn't take out such a large amount of wealth. The only place that could easily surpass this number in terms of wealth was the Sky Thunder Sea region. At this time, The experts of the Sky Thunder Sea region had not made a move yet. Would they make a move? Chapter 1053. As the owner of the entire Sky Thunder City, most of the benefits of Sky Thunder City naturally fell into the hands of Sky Thunder City. If they took action, then Yi Shiwen's wealth might not be comparable to theirs. Yi Shiwen was also a little nervous in his heart. If he couldn't take her away through the normal channels, then he would have no choice but to make a scene in the auction house and kidnap her. In that case, a big battle would break out again. Moreover, it would be fine if it was just the top management of Sky Thunder Sea region. At that time, he might have to face the encirclement and suppression of the top experts of the major sea regions. This situation was also a headache for Yi Shiwen. It would be best if he could take her away through normal means. 3 million bloodstones. Although it was a little distressing, in Yi Shiwen's opinion, it was completely worth it. After waiting for a long time, everyone was waiting to see if the experts of Sky Thunder Sea region would take action. However, they heard Lin Fenghua's voice from afar. Since this is something that Brother Yi is interested in, then our Sky Thunder Sea region will not interfere. Lin Fenghua still had the appearance of being courteous to the wise and won a round of applause from everyone. However, for Yi Shiwen, he was still a black-bellied poisonous snake. There would not be any change. However, since Lin Fenghua did not intervene, then the rest of the situation was settled. Sure enough, after Sky Thunder Sea region said that they would not intervene, no one bid because they did not want to use all the bloodstones on this matter. The last item was what they wanted the most. Yi Shiwen smiled slightly. He finally bought this woman. Without any hesitation, he got up and went backstage. He was not interested in what was going to be auctioned later. Under the guidance of the auction house staff, Yi Shiwen quickly went backstage and saw the young woman that he bought. Yi Shiwen had just walked backstage when the manager of the auction house immediately came up to him. He was also a young expert of the sea race. Yi Shiwen was their big customer. He had spent 3 million bloodstones in one go. For the current stage, it was an astronomical figure. Although Yi Shiwen was not from Sky Thunder City, for them, as long as there was money to be made, it did not matter where the customer was from. However, although this sea race youth was very enthusiastic and experienced, Yi Shiwen was disgusted in his heart. He didn't want to say much. He just put the 3 million bloodstones into a cosmos bag and handed it over to him. He said, "Now I can take the people away." Of course, of course. After the Sea Clan young man confirmed that 3 million bloodstones was not a small amount, he immediately smiled and said, "But distinguished guest, our auction is not over yet. There are still many good things left. Do you not want to continue looking?" "Not interested," Yi Shiwen said coldly. The young man from the sea race did not continue to pester him. From what he had said just now, he understood that the person in front of him was not someone who was easy to deal with. Yi Shiwen walked to the side of the woman, but the woman didn't even look at him. She was a bit numb and stubborn as before. It seemed that she wasn't interested in who had bought her. "Now you can open the chain on her shoulder blade," Yi Shiwen said. This? The Sea Clan youth was immediately put in a difficult position. "Esteemed guest, it's not that we don't want to open her scapula, but you have to know that this woman's cultivation level is not low. She has already reached the mid-stage of the half-step transcendence realm. We spent a lot of effort to capture her back then. If we just open her scapula," the sea race youth's words were very clear. The woman in front of him was not someone to be trifled with. Although she was from the human race, her strength was tyrannical. In order to capture her in the past, he had spent a lot of effort. Although his scapulae were locked and his power was sealed, he still looked harmless. But once her shoulder blades were loosened, with her cultivation, she would probably recover very quickly. At that time, it would probably be a huge problem. When Yi Shiwen said that he was going to release her shoulder blade, the woman's eyes only had a slight glimmer of light. Then, she returned to a dead silence with a numb look. "Whether you want to dual cultivate or refine into a human medicine, it won't affect you even if your shoulder blade is locked," said the Sea Clan young man. Dual cultivation and refining into a human medicine were both options. The only difference was that dual cultivation could be done multiple times with long-lasting effects. On the other hand, refining into a human medicine had a violent effect. It could plunder a lot of cultivation at one time. Do you think I can't suppress her? Yi Shiwen glanced at the Sea Clan young man coldly. What nonsense are you talking about? I have already bought her. She belongs to me now. It's up to me to decide whether to open the lock on her shoulder blade or not. Stop talking nonsense. Yi Shiwen's body suddenly emitted a monstrous aura, instantly overwhelming the Sea Clan young man. How could this Sea Clan young man who had just reached the Transcendent Realm 9th level resist Yi Shiwen's aura? He could only tremble under Yi Shiwen's aura. However, he gritted his teeth and did not relax. Honorable guest, for the sake of you and other guests, it is impossible for us to unlock her shackles. Moreover, the key to her shoulder blade is not in our auction house at all. He couldn't help but smile bitterly because he had never thought that someone would make such a strange request. She actually wanted to untie the chains on her scapulae. Didn't she know that she could only do whatever she wanted when the chains on her scapulae were untied? Untying the chains on her scapulae would make her a mad tigress, a crazy tigress. Then who has it? Yi Shiwen opened his big hand and directly sucked the Sea Clan young man into his hand. His big hand was like an iron hoop, firmly gripping the Sea Clan young man's neck. The Sea Clan young man almost felt that his neck was about to be broken. Yi Shiwen behaved like an arrogant and despotic playboy of a major force. In this regard, the other Sea Clan experts in the backstage were anxious, but they did not dare to step forward. Not only because Yi Shiwen was their big customer, but more importantly, Yi Shiwen's terrifying strength made even the Transcendent Realm 9th level peak young man vulnerable in front of him. How could they dare to provoke him? The woman just looked at everything in front of her indifferently. Perhaps in her heart, it was just a dogfight. It's in the hands of our Sky Thunder City's city lord, the Sea Clan young man said reluctantly with a red face. Yes, it's not in our hands. Yeah, if you're willing to wait, you can also go to the city lord to get the key. At this time, other Sea Clan experts nodded and said. Yi Shiwen frowned slightly. It's in the hands of the Sky Thunder City's city lord. Why is this matter related to Sky Thunder Sea region? Is this auction hosted by Sky Thunder Sea region? Or is it hosted by a force in Sky Thunder Sea region? No wonder Lin Fenghua was so noble and didn't compete with Yi Shiwen just now. It turned out that there was such a reason behind it. Thinking of this, Yi Shiwen suddenly had a headache. He had a headache about the city lord of Sky Thunder City. He hadn't seen him before, but he could more or less infer his strength from the strength of Lin Fenghua and the others. Even if Yi Shiwen were to face him now, perhaps he would also have to flee in panic. If the key was in the hands of the Sky Thunder City's city lord, then the probability of Yi Shiwen getting it was too small. After thinking about it, Yi Shiwen could only give up this idea. However, the chain on the scapula was not easy to remove, because the scapula was a fatal point of the human body. Once the scapula was broken, even if one had monstrous spiritual power, one would be instantly suppressed and be at the mercy of others. Not to mention martial arts, even strength would be locked. One would be no better than an ordinary person. Generally speaking, this method was also used to deal with some important and troublesome criminals. Moreover, the level of the shackles that locked different levels of experts was different. In the absence of the key, it was simply as difficult as ascending to heaven to open it. Of course, if one could ask a law manifestation realm expert to make a move, there should still be a way to forcibly break it. After the shackles were broken, the wounds on the body were nothing. With her strength, such small injuries should be almost healed in just a moment. This was also the reason why the young man from the sea race was unwilling to open the loot lock. Once the lock was opened, this woman would quickly turn into a terrifying killing god. Based on what they had done to her in the past, it was enough for her to start a massacre. Although Yi Shiwen said that he could suppress her, who would dare to believe such a thing? However, there was no other way now. Yi Shiwen pondered for a moment and said, "It better be so, or I will let you die without a burial place." Yi Shiwen directly threw this Sea Clan youth aside like throwing rubbish. He didn't even look at him. Then he walked to the side of the woman and said, "Since I have already bought you, you are mine. Let's go." In order not to be seen through by these Sea Clan people, Yi Shiwen just said coldly. That woman just coldly looked at Yi Shiwen. Her gaze seemed as if she was looking at a dead man. This made Yi Shiwen a bit puzzled. What did this woman's gaze mean? Did she think that she would be a match for him when her scapula was locked? Yi Shiwen still had this bit of confidence. Even if she was at her peak, Yi Shiwen could suppress her, not to mention with her scapula locked. Go! Yi Shiwen immediately straightened his face and scolded. The woman just sneered and didn't say anything. She just walked out obediently. Chapter 1054. Yi Shiwen, someone is following you. Yi Shiwen didn't intend to stay for a long time. In fact, he didn't even intend to continue watching the auction. Most of the bloodstones he had were used to buy this woman. Although the remaining 2 million bloodstones were not a small amount, but according to the situation of these sea races' local tyrants, especially the people of the Sky Thunder Sea region, he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to get anything good, let alone the finale item. If it was just spirit crystals, he wasn't afraid. After so many years, he had accumulated a lot of spirit crystals. It was far from enough to buy bloodstones. So, he didn't hesitate and walked out of the auction house with the woman. However, not long after leaving the auction house, he received Yi Mo's warning. Sure enough, he scanned with his spiritual senses. It didn't take long for him to discover 3 people following behind him. One of them was Yi Shiwen's old acquaintance, Huang Shui. Beside him, there were 2 Transcendent Realm 9th level Sea clan men. They had been following Yi Shiwen from a distance. You're seeking your own death. Yi Shiwen snorted coldly. He reached out and grabbed the woman's slender waist. Her silk-like skin was in his hands. He took a step and immediately flew out of Sky Thunder City. The woman's pretty face suddenly blushed, but she didn't struggle because she knew it was useless. How could she not know the purpose of these Sea Clan men to buy her back? It was the same for this person. In her opinion, there was no difference. After flying all the way out of Sky Thunder City, Yi Shiwen finally removed the disguise of the Sea Clan aura and revealed his original aura. You're not a Sea Clan? The woman was abnormally sensitive to the changes in Yi Shiwen's aura. She immediately reacted. Suddenly, a shocked expression appeared on her originally numb, pretty face. Of course, I'm not a Sea Clan, said Yi Shiwen with a smile. I'm just deceiving those guys. I have no choice. I can't rob them in front of everyone. The woman's small face suddenly blushed. It turns out that he is not a Sea Clan. After knowing that Yi Shiwen wasn't a member of the Sea race, this woman's impression of Yi Shiwen suddenly took a 180-degree turn. She was originally numb and disgusted with Yi Shiwen, but now her impression of Yi Shiwen had been completely reversed. Perhaps because she had misunderstood Yi Shiwen before and felt somewhat guilty, her impression of Yi Shiwen had soared. It was no wonder that Yi Shiwen had requested to unlock her scapulae. At that time, she didn't understand why, because it was very illogical. Just as the Sea race youth had said, whether it was dual cultivation or refining human medicine, there was no difference whether she had scapulae or not. Especially when she thought of dual cultivation, her fair skin instantly turned red. Although it was a little strange that he had the means to disguise himself as a member of the Sea tribe, in the face of this sudden joy, these doubts were nothing. Those damned Sea race. When the woman thought of how she had been captured, she immediately gritted her snow-white teeth. But for the time being, I can't do anything about the chains on your shoulder blades, said Yi Shiwen. Of course, it was not completely impossible. For example, the Emergence Immortal Exterminating Saber could definitely cut this chain. But the Emergence Immortal Exterminating Saber was his final trump card. He wouldn't take it out unless it was a critical moment, not to mention the woman in front of him whom he had just met for the first time. Moreover, he couldn't control the Emergence Immortal Exterminating Saber at all. It was fine to use it in battle, but if he wanted to control the Emergence Immortal Exterminating Saber to cut the chain, he was afraid that if he was not careful, he would also cut this woman in half. That would be really terrible. Just because of this, I am already very grateful, said the woman. By the way, I haven't asked you what's your name? Yi Shiwen asked. Even the auction house didn't provide this information. After all, in their eyes, this woman in front of them was merely a tool for dual cultivation. Or perhaps a human medicine. So, it didn't matter whether they knew her name or not. Yi Qianqian. The woman bit her lower lip slightly and said softly, Yi Qianqian, good name. Your surname is Yi too? Maybe we were a family 500 years ago. My surname is also Yi Shiwen, said Yi Shiwen with a smile. He felt a little emotional in his heart, but he didn't expect that the woman in front of him actually had the same surname as him. However, he only felt a little emotional and didn't take it to heart. There were many people in this world with the same name, let alone the same surname. I thank young Master Yi for saving my life, said Yi Qianqian as she blinked her beautiful eyes. I can't just leave you in the lurch. These damn sea clans, I don't know how much blood of my clan has stained their hands. If I have the ability, sooner or later, I will wipe them out, said Yi Shiwen coldly. By the way, young Master Yi, be careful of the ambush of those people from Sky Thunder City. Yi Qianqian seemed to think of something and quickly reminded him. Actually, young Master Yi doesn't know. Yi Qianqian then told the story. It turned out that Yi Qianqian was caught by the city lord of Sky Thunder City. However, it was not in the blood world, but in the outside world. When Yi Qianqian went out to gain experience, she came to Sky Thunder Sea region. Who knew that she would encounter an accident and be caught by the city lord of Sky Thunder City in a despicable way? And this auction was simply organized by the city lord of Sky Thunder City. Selling her was purely a gimmick. No matter who bought her, he or she would be ambushed by the city lord of Sky Thunder City. Finally, he or she would be snatched back. She had experienced such things several times. Yi Shiwen only realized now. No wonder Lin Fenghua had a noble appearance and didn't compete with him. It turned out that this was a trap. This nine-body source itself was a gimmick. No matter who bought it, he or she would be ambushed in the end. In the end, not only would he or she lose everything, but he or she would also lose their lives. No wonder Yi Qianqian looked at him as if she was looking at a dead person. It turned out that she already knew the conspiracy of those people in Sky Thunder City, but she didn't say anything. Generally speaking, in her heart, these people of the Sea Clan were jackals of the same lair. It was just a dog-eat-dog fight. No matter who won, she couldn't escape the fate of becoming a dual cultivation furnace. It didn't matter to her. If she didn't find out later that Yi Shiwen was a human, and he was trying to save her, she wouldn't have said anything at all. Yi Shiwen only understood the whole story now. Initially, he thought that Huang Shui and others who followed behind just wanted to ambush him because of the previous grievances. But now it seemed that it was not so simple. He was afraid that the entire Sky Thunder City was involved. No wonder the steward of the Sea Clan would rather be pinched to death by him than open Yi Qianqian's scapula. Previously, he said that he was afraid that Yi Qianqian would suddenly go crazy. It was all nonsense. It was because they never thought of letting Yi Qianqian go. If Yi Qianqian's scapula was opened, then there would be big trouble in the future. They wouldn't be able to catch Yi Qianqian at all. Although he hadn't seen Yi Qianqian's combat power at her peak, even Sky Thunder Sea region spent a lot of effort in order to catch her. They suffered heavy losses, which was enough to show that Yi Qianqian wasn't simple. A hint of killing intent flashed in his eyes. The others had already schemed against him. How could he swallow his anger? They are just seeking their own deaths. Yi Shiwen immediately stopped hesitating. He directly pressed the escape light and landed in a valley. He said, "You stay here first. I will go and get rid of the people behind us first." He didn't choose to keep Yi Qianqian in the Tianyuan mirror because he wasn't familiar with it. In a place like the Blood World, or even in the entire ancient Barrens continent, he had no friends or relatives. It was always right to be cautious. He didn't want to expose the Tianyuan mirror because, once it was exposed, it would definitely shock the world. Generally, a storage artifact could only store some inanimate objects. It was impossible to store living things, not to mention something like the Tianyuan mirror, which could almost form a world and develop independently. If it was exposed, Yi Shiwen would definitely face great danger. An artifact that could form a world would definitely be coveted by countless experts. Maybe even experts above the law manifestation realm would be attracted. He couldn't take this risk. After arranging the array for Yi Qianqian, Yi Shiwen immediately returned quietly. "Hey, where did that guy go?" Why is he gone? Huang Shui and the other two chased into a mountain range, but they found that they had lost track of Yishuan. Because Yishuan didn't speed up previously, they were able to follow behind Yishuan. They also thought that they hadn't been discovered by Yishuan, so they followed him all the way. However, when they arrived at this mountain range, they suddenly found that Yishuan had disappeared from their divine senses. They couldn't find him, so they suddenly became a little nervous. Damn it, could it be that he found us? A Sea Clan expert behind Huang Shui said angrily. It shouldn't be. We have been following him from a distance. Even if we use our divine senses, we can only scan his afterimage. He can't possibly find us. Another one said, it's just that if we go back like this, I'm afraid City Lord Lin won't be able to pass. City Lord Lin specifically ordered us to keep an eye on this guy and see where he is staying. He will then bring a large number of experts to encircle us. Search. I don't believe that this guy can still run away with a woman with her scapulae locked, Huang Shui said in a flustered and exasperated manner. After suffering a loss in Yi Shiwen's hands, he lost his usual calmness. His heart was filled with brutality, and he hated Yi Shiwen to the core. Yes. The two Sea Clan experts quickly said yes. At this moment, suddenly, a sharp sound came from a distance, followed by an amazing sword aura appearing in front of everyone's eyes. Chapter 1055. The sword light cut through the sky and directly penetrated the neck of a Transcendent Realm 9th level expert with lightning speed. Puff! A flower of blood bloomed. The Transcendent Realm 9th level expert was pierced before he could react. His body fell directly from midair, and his vitality was severed. Ooh! This accident came too quickly. Huang Shui only had time to yell, but he had no time to assist the Transcendent Realm 9th level expert. Although part of the reason was that he was caught off guard, he was still unable to react with his cultivation. It could be seen how fast that sword was. In other words, if he was the target of that sword just now, he might have died under that sword. Swish! Another amazing sword light swept from midair. Puff! Another flower of blood bloomed. Another Transcendent Realm 9th level expert fell under this sword. Oh! Huang Shui began to feel a little nervous and afraid at this time. An invisible enemy was the most terrifying. In his eyes, a cyan figure slowly appeared in front of him. It was Yi Shiwen. His pupils shrank faintly because of fear. He knew very well that Yi Shiwen's strength was above him. After the previous battle, he also understood that he was not Yi Shiwen's opponent. But it was precisely because of this that he was so frightened at this time. He thought of a possibility, and that was death. This was not Sky Thunder City where he could call a lot of helpers at any time. In this barren mountain, apart from the Blood Beast, he was the only one. Yi Shiwen, why did you attack us? Are you going to fall out with our Sky Thunder City? Aren't you afraid of being endlessly hunted by us? At this time, Huang Shui forced himself to calm down and threatened Yi Shiwen. Why do you think I attacked you? I have already seen through all your conspiracies. You still want to scheme against me? You're courting death, said Yi Shiwen with a sneer. You? No, you're not a Sea Clan. You're a human. Huang Shui just wanted to continue talking, but he suddenly noticed that Yi Shiwen's aura was different. Without concealing, Yi Shiwen's human aura was obvious. It was completely different from the Sea Clan's slightly watery and salty aura. Isn't it a bit too late to know now? Yi Shiwen sneered and said. Huang Shui suddenly broke into a cold sweat. He finally realized that he had missed something. However, the most terrifying thing was that Yi Shiwen was a human being. He thought of the many years of battles between humans and sea race. He thought of the human race forces that had been annihilated in the Sky Thunder Sea region. There were still a large number of human slaves in the Sky Thunder Sea region. He thought of their fates. He didn't know why, but at this moment he suddenly broke out in a cold sweat and felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave. Aren't you guys very arrogant? Now, I will show you the means of my human race, Yi Shiwen indifferently said. You can't do this. Lin Fenghua will soon bring a lot of people here. If you don't leave now, you will definitely die, Huang Shui said quickly. Although he hated Yi Shiwen and wanted to tear him into pieces, he still chose to let himself live in the face of life and death. As for finding trouble with Yi Shiwen and seeking revenge, in his opinion, there was plenty of time. There was no need to rush. Don't worry. After killing you, he can forget about running away. All those who schemed against me, don't even think about running away. Yi Shiwen said with a sneer. Huang Shui was almost scared to death. Is this guy crazy? Forget about wanting to kill him. He even schemed against Lin Fenghua. He was very clear about Lin Fenghua's strength. Even he was not a match for her. It was because of this understanding that he felt that Yi Shiwen was crazy to have such a crazy idea. Most importantly, Lin Fenghua would bring a lot of half-step law manifestation realm experts. He actually dared to scheme against Lin Fenghua. He must be crazy. Thinking that he actually schemed against a madman, he suddenly felt very sad. But he was not a person who would wait for death without a fight. Suddenly, a sword light appeared in his hand and slashed towards Yi Shiwen in front of him. This sword contained all the brilliance of his sword. It didn't look like an ordinary sword. It directly slashed down. The sword light directly slashed through the heaven and earth and directly slashed down. In just an instant, it had already rushed in front of Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen just sneered. The sword light in his hand instantly burst into a huge light shadow and blasted toward the sword aura that was slashing down. Boom! The two sword auras collided and directly blasted out a power that blotted out the sky. The power of the fight between two half-step law manifestation realm experts was naturally terrifying. The storm that swept out directly blew several surrounding mountains to the ground. Yi Shiwen's sword light was stronger. It directly smashed Huang Shuyi's sword light and went all the way up. Bang! Although the sword light had weakened a lot when it slashed Huang Shuyi's body, it was still enough to seriously injure Huang Shui. Puff! His body flew out upside down, and a mouthful of blood sprayed into the sky. His strength was far from Yi Shiwen's. Before entering the Transcendent Realm 8th level, Yi Shiwen was already able to behead an expert of this level. Not to mention now, Huang Shuyi's strength was not the same as before. Huang Shui was even less of an opponent. Yi Shiwen stepped out and instantly chased after him. The sword light in his hand had already condensed. Yi Shiwen, even if I have to die, I want you to die with me, Huang Shui yelled. The long sword in his hand instantly tore the sky at a terrifying speed. The strange sword light almost killed him in an instant. He burned his own blood essence in exchange for an instant boost in combat power. He wanted to drag Yi Shiwen down with him. Boom! The sword light only slashed on a cluster of golden light. This cluster of golden light completely wrapped Yi Shiwen in it. Although the sword light was fast, it could not penetrate the blockade of this layer of golden light. Huang Shuyi's sword light was swallowed by the god contained in the divinity. You want to scheme against me? You are still far from it. Yi Shiwen shouted coldly. Countless sword lights burst out in his hand, condensing into a huge light sword in midair. It expanded against the wind, and then slashed down. Puff! Huang Shui was pierced on the spot. The sword light brought his corpse directly to the ground, nailing him to the ground. The smoke and dust dissipated, and the bloody smell permeated the air. It was a boundless world of blood. In less than a quarter of an hour, 7 to 8 silhouettes descended at a high speed, and then stopped. Each of these silhouettes was as tall as a mountain, and contained a power that could destroy the heavens and the earth. The person in the lead was none other than Lin Fenghua. Not long after the auction ended, Lin Fenghua chased after Huang Shui with his men at full speed. However, he was not afraid of Huang Shui's accident. Instead, he was afraid that Yi Shiwen would run away. Although Huang Shui was not Yi Shiwen's opponent, in Lin Fenghua's opinion, Huang Shui should be able to keep an eye on Yi Shiwen from a distance. They're all dead, Lin Fenghua said with a gloomy face. There were 3 corpses on the ground. Yi Shiwen seemed to have left in a hurry and did not have time to clean them up. Damn, Huang Shui must have been discovered by that kid, Lin Fenghua said coldly. What should we do? It's fine if we can't get that kid's wealth. That sword is nothing, But if we lose that woman, Hao Tsang will not let it go. Behind Lin Fenghua, there was a person who was almost on par with him. His status was not much lower than Lin Fenghua's. Everyone was a little indifferent, because this Hao Tsang was none other than the current city lord of Sky Thunder City. Everyone was very clear that that woman was used by Hao Tsang to break through the realm. If he could not successfully enter the half-step law phase late stage this time, then the pure primordial yin in this woman's body would be the key to breaking through. Once Hao Tsang knew that this woman was lost by them, everyone could imagine the anger in his heart. Even in the Sky Thunder Sea region, Hao Tsang was outstanding. Just like young Master Sea Dragon in the Flourish Cloud Sea region, he was above everyone. Everyone could not imagine how terrifying Hao Tsang's expression would be when he was enraged. Chase. No matter what, we must catch up with him. Otherwise, if Hao Tsang gets angry, you should be very clear about the consequences. Lin Fenghua said with a slight frown. As for the three corpses lying on the ground, everyone did not even look at them. It was as if they did not care at all. In other words, people who were already dead were not worthy of their attention. The strength of the Sky Thunder Sea region is indeed extraordinary. Just the people brought by Lin Fenghua are far more powerful than those from the Flourish Cloud City. In a valley, Yi Shiwen looked at the people in the sky and muttered to himself. Beside him was Yi Qianqian, whose scapula was locked. At this time, she was just sitting cross-legged on the ground, slowly recovering some of her vitality. In the past, when she was in the hands of the Sea Clan of Sky Thunder City, she was not even allowed to recover her vitality. Basically, there was only a little bit of qi left in her body for survival. Every once in a while, a part of qi would be extracted by someone to prevent her from running away. Now that she was here with Yi Shiwen, she naturally did not have to worry so much. In fact, being locked by the scapula might not be hopeless. Some powerful people, even if their scapula was locked, could still use qi to break the chain and escape. Because of this, the qi in her body would be extracted every once in a while. They're just some snakes and rats, Yi Qianqian said faintly, as if she did not care about these people. Chapter 1056. They are just some pests, Yi Qianqian said faintly, as if she did not care about these people. Yi Shiwen could tell that it was not because she was plotted against and captured by these people that she said so angrily, but because she really did not care about them. She really did not care about them. That kind of pride that came from the bones. Yi Shiwen didn't respond. He just looked at the higher-ups of Sky Thunder City in the sky. He didn't rush up rashly. If the legendary city lord of Sky Thunder City appeared among these people, then he wouldn't rush out rashly. Since he knew that there was no chance of winning, there was no need to fight them head-on. I will go and get rid of these pests, Yi Shiwen said faintly. Chase, we must catch up with them before they leave. They fought with Huang Shuyi here, so they must have been delayed. If we catch up now, we should still be able to catch up, said Lin Fenghua. At this time, he could no longer maintain his usual calm appearance. It could even be said that he was a little flustered and exasperated. The reason was very simple. It was because he was the one who decided to sell Yi Qianqian out and deceive people again. He could completely imagine how furious Hao Tsang would be if Yi Qianqian went missing. At that time, even he could not bear the possible consequences. These top half-step law manifestation realm masters did not stop at all. Their figures directly flew out. Boom! With a loud explosion, they directly rushed into a formation. Oh no! Lin Fenghua suddenly shouted. We are ambushed. Everyone be careful. Who is it? Come out! Who is so bold to even dare to ambush people of Sky Thunder City? Do you want to die? Do you know who we are? Who am I? Are you looking for me? Yi Shiwen sneered and appeared from the void. Yi Shiwen, it's actually you. After you killed Huang Shuyi, you actually did not leave. Lin Fenghua looked at Yi Shiwen coldly and said, he really did not expect that the person who intercepted them here would actually be Yi Shiwen. After Yi Shiwen killed Huang Shuyi, it could be said that he had shed all pretense of cordiality with Sky Thunder City. If he didn't run away now, would he stay and be killed by these people from Sky Thunder City? At this time, he thought that he had somewhat understood Yi Shiwen. It turned out that Yi Shiwen had laid out these arrays to kill us and the others. However, he had thought too simply of himself. Scoundrel, you're courting death. Are you tired of living? The experts of the sky, lightning, sea region roared in anger. They had always been the ones chasing others. When had they ever been chased by others? Even if it was just a formality, it was still unacceptable to them. Do you think this kind of formation can trap us? As Lin Fenghua spoke, he looked at the Dharma arrays floating in the air around him. He had seen many of these Dharma arrays. He had even seen and heard of Dharma arrays that could kill Transcendence Realm experts. There was no lack of such Dharma arrays in their forces. If a Transcendence Realm expert was not careful, he could be killed on the spot. However, they had been meticulously laid out for a long time. It could even be said that they had spent countless efforts. How could this kind of Dharma array that was laid out in a hurry be comparable? This kind of Dharma array that was laid out in a hurry might be more than enough to deal with Transcendent Realm warriors. However, it seemed too childish and ridiculous to deal with these half-step Transcendence Realm experts. Where's that woman? Where did you take her? As long as you hand her over, we can forgive your crimes, said Lin Fenghua. In his opinion, the purpose of delaying was to find Yi Qianqian. As for forgiving Yi Shiwen, please, he was just saying it. He didn't even take it to heart. This guy killed someone from Sky Thunder City, and he was even a half-step Transcendence Realm Deputy City Lord. How could he let him go so easily? After Yi Shiwen handed over Yi Qianqian, he would let him die without a burial place. As for this Dharma array, he didn't take it to heart at all. Tisk! Yi Shiwen sneered. Please, use your brain before you speak. Do you believe such words yourself? Said Yi Shiwen with a sneer. Lin Fenghua's stingy expression suddenly turned gloomy. Although he didn't even believe those words, he still felt a little embarrassed after hearing Yi Shiwen's words. Do you really think that this Dharma array can trap and kill us? Said Lin Fenghua disdainfully. Do you think you can guess the strength of a half-step Transcendence Realm expert? That's ridiculous. Today, I'll show you what it means to be a frog at the bottom of a well. That's right. In our eyes, you're just a slightly bigger ant. At this time, you don't want to escape, and you actually dare to ambush us. You're really tired of living. That's right. You've probably lived for too long. Yi Shiwen's ears were filled with the sneers and curses of these Sky Thunder City experts. Their gazes were fixed on Yi Shiwen. They were only afraid that he would escape. By then, they wouldn't care about this Dharma array at all. Who told you that this Dharma array is used to trap and kill you? Said Yi Shiwen with a sneer. Obviously, he was also very clear that this Dharma array was temporarily set up. It could barely deal with those Transcendent Realm warriors, but it was impossible to deal with half-step Transcendence Realm experts. In particular, he wasn't very good at Dharma array. It was simply impossible to set up an earth-shattering Dharma array in a short period of time. Then, why did you still set up this Dharma array? It's ridiculous. Lin Fenghua also tore off all his hypocritical face. There was a somewhat hideous expression on his face. He didn't try to break this Dharma array because, in his opinion, there was no need at all. It was just a matter of minutes to destroy it. I set up this Dharma array just because I'm afraid that you'll run away, said Yi Shiwen with a smile. It's rare that so many of you are here. If I can't capture all of you in one fell swoop, how regretful it would be. Huh? Did I just hear a joke? How arrogant. As the saying goes, if the heavens want to destroy a man, it will first make him crazy. Yi Shiwen's words immediately attracted the ridicule of many experts from Sky Thunder City. Originally, I entered Sky Thunder City just to take a short break. I didn't want to have a conflict with you, but you are too arrogant. You don't know what's good for you to plot against me. Don't blame me then, said Yi Shiwen faintly. As soon as his voice fell, his figure instantly flew out. He directly turned into a golden light and rushed into the Dharma array. He was like a golden god, instantly rushing in front of these experts from Sky Thunder City. An earth-level magic sword appeared in his hand. Without saying a word, he directly slashed out two terrifying sword lights. Those experts from Sky Thunder City didn't expect Yi Shiwen to actually make a move. They were immediately caught off guard. Or it could be said that even if they thought of it, It was useless because Yi Shiwen was faster than they thought. Two experts of half-step law phase initial couldn't react at all. They were slashed in the air on the spot. Blood directly splashed out, and their spirit was instantly crushed. They died tragically on the spot. At this time, everyone seemed to have finally reacted. Everyone be careful. This guy is fierce. Lin Fenghua quickly shouted. Damn it. At this time, the expert behind Lin Fenghua, who was not much weaker than her, finally exerted his strength. He suddenly stomped his feet and instantly spread out circles of the power of thunder and lightning. He actually directly used his domain. He blasted a punch in front of Yi Shiwen. This was precisely when Yi Shiwen just waved his sword and had not had time to turn around. It could be said to be exquisite to the extreme. His combat experience was also unusually rich. Yi Shiwen almost fell into the domain of thunder and lightning in an instant. In this domain, this expert from Sky Thunder Sea region was the only master, the master of thunder and lightning. In his fist technique, there was endless terrifying thunder and lightning, and he struck out a terrifying and boundless strength. The wind of the fist whistled, and Yi Shiwen could still feel the terrifying fist strength even though he was far away. When the wind blew, his skin was in pain. Especially in this domain of thunder and lightning, it was his domain. So his speed suddenly increased by many times, and in an instant, he had already rushed in front of Yi Shiwen. Trying to plot against me, Yi Shiwen sneered. Although he had already brandished his sword and hadn't recovered his strength, but his other hand was empty. The 5 fingers of his left hand clenched into a fist, and immediately, the power of countless stars instantly condensed, forming a huge star in his hand. His fist intent spread out, almost turning the nearby void into a universe. And he was the only true god in this universe, the master of the entire universe. Boom! 2 huge fists collided fiercely on the spot, and a terrifying storm swept up countless thunder and lightning, spreading out in an instant. It was really an earth-shattering explosion. The terrifying collision directly set off a small mushroom cloud, annihilating atoms, causing the space to tremble violently and twist wildly. Ah! The expert let out a shocking scream. His entire arm was bombarded by Yi Shiwen in an instant, and the terrifying power of the stars blasted along his arm all the way to his body. Bang! He was directly blasted out on the spot, and a mouthful of blood suddenly sprayed out. Everyone was dumbfounded because this expert was the second expert in the Amen sect after Lin Fenghua. He was also an expert who had just entered the half-step law manifestation realm middle stage. He could be called an invincible expert, but he couldn't even take a punch from Yi Shiwen and was blasted out. Yi Shiwen just sneered. Wasn't competing with him in terms of physical strength? Wasn't that courting death? If Yi Shiwen only relied on a realm that was much higher than Yi Shiwen to forcibly suppress him, then Yi Shiwen might have to go through a lot of trouble to fight, but this kind of direct face-to-face collision was really courting death. Chapter 1057. Yi Shiwen just sneered and looked at the guy who was blasted away by him. What a fool! The Heavenly Thunder Realm experts were dumbfounded when they saw this scene. What kind of situation is this? Is this guy in front of me just a transcendent realm 8th level guy? Why do I feel that he is more terrifying than a half-step law manifestation realm late expert? Even a half-step transcendence realm expert wouldn't be able to blast his arm and send him flying with just one punch. I didn't want to go on a killing spree, but I have no choice against some people, said Yi Shiwen emotionally. At this time, Yi Shiwen's figure had disappeared in front of everyone. When he reappeared, he had already rushed in front of these half-step law manifestation realm early experts. These experts seemed to have towering bodies like mountains, but they were trembling at this time. Yi Shiwen's prowess was completely beyond their imagination. Although they had received news that Huang Shuyi was defeated by Yi Shiwen, it was just a defeat. It did not mean that Yi Shiwen could kill Huang Shuyi. In other words, in their opinion, Yi Shiwen was at most at the same level as them. Coupled with the 2 half-step law manifestation realm intermediate experts, it was useless even if Yi Shiwen was a transcendent realm 8th level expert. It was impossible to escape. But now, they found that the situation was completely different. The hunter and the prey had completely reversed. They used Yi Shiwen as the prey in the dark, but he had completely become the hunter who wanted to hunt them down. They thought that they were the hunters, but now they had become the prey. Yi Shiwen's whole body was wrapped in golden divinity. Looking from a distance, he was like a god of war made of gold. He directly rushed into these half-step law manifestation realm early experts. Puff! A half-step law manifestation realm expert had no time to prepare at all. He resisted, but he couldn't keep up with Yi Shiwen's speed. Yi Shiwen slashed him in the air and blasted him into 2 pieces. His health fell rapidly. How could this be? Lin Fenghua looked at Yi Shiwen's massacre. He almost couldn't react. He couldn't believe it. Yi Shiwen was just a transcendent realm 8th level. Under normal circumstances, he might not even look at him, yet he could massacre his team. It was like a dream, and it was a nightmare that he couldn't wake up from. One had to know that these people were the elites amongst the elites of the Heavenly Lightning Sea region. Every single one of them was a top-notch genius who had experienced countless battles. Ordinary people could not even enter their eyes. They were definitely the top existences in the Sky Lightning Sea region. Even he could not casually berate them. Other than Hao Tsong, he would not care about anyone else's words. In the Sky Thunder Sea region, he was the most direct opponent. No one knew better than him how powerful they were. Although they were not his match now, they were all geniuses. They could reach the sky in a single step at any time. If they entered the intermediate stage of the Law Phase realm, they would be on equal footing with him. He himself had to work hard at all times to prevent these people from catching up to him from being slaughtered like chickens and dogs. Who the hell is this guy? How can he be so powerful? You actually dared to kill so many of our experts in the Sky Thunder Sea region. Do you want to die? You're finished. Not only you, but even your relatives and friends will die because of your stupid decision. Lin Fenghua yelled and roared like a madman. How stupid, said Yi Shiwen with a disdainful sneer. Do you think you still have a chance to escape? As for the revenge of the Sky Thunder Sea region, he was not worried at all. As long as these people could not escape, the news would not be leaked. Moreover, he was like a duckweed in the ancient Barrens continent without any foothold. He could just leave at any time. What was there to worry about? Puff! Puff! Wherever Yi Shiwen's longsword passed, the usually majestic and domineering early-stage experts of the half-step transcendence realm were no different from ants in his hands. They were all killed with one strike of his sword. Most importantly, Yi Shiwen's speed was too fast. It was as if he was killing them at a fixed location. He was a very precise killing machine. They couldn't even react in time. Or rather, Yi Shiwen's longsword had already pierced into their throats before they could react. In Yi Shiwen's hands, they were no different from the Transcendent Realm warriors. Although Yi Shiwen did not unfurl his demon's wings, his speed was already terrifying enough for them. Damn it! Stop! Stop! At this time, Lin Fenghua hurriedly shouted. However, it was too late. Other than him, everyone else had already fallen under Yi Shiwen's sword. For the first time, he realized that when one's speed was raised to the extreme, it would be such a terrifying thing. The average person's speed was very fast, but their strength was inevitably lacking. Therefore, for those with tyrannical physical bodies, although fast people were troublesome, it was only troublesome. As long as they were careful, they wouldn't be a fatal threat. However, Yi Shiwen was different. His speed was extremely fast, and his strength was even more terrifying. As long as one was targeted by him, there was no possibility of escaping. In the valley below, Yi Qianqian looked at Yi Shiwen, who was slaughtering in the sky. Although her cultivation was sealed, her realm was still there. Although the valley was far away from Yi Shiwen's battlefield, with her eyesight, she could still clearly see what was happening in the battlefield. She was even clearer than the Sky Thunder City's experts present. She was also secretly shocked. Who is this Yi Shiwen? Which family cultivated him? As a matter of fact, she didn't care about the experts in the sea region at all. No matter how high their realm was, she wouldn't care about them. In her eyes, if they were in the same realm, she could slaughter them like slaughtering chickens and dogs. Therefore, in order to capture her back then, the Sky Thunder Sea region had put in a lot of effort. Although Yi Shiwen was slaughtering as if the Sky Thunder City's experts were weak, she could clearly see that it wasn't that the Sky Thunder City's experts were too weak, but Yi Shiwen was too strong. Even an ordinary half-step to Law Manifestation Realm late-stage expert couldn't slaughter these half-step to Law Manifestation Realm late-stage experts as easily as Yi Shiwen, because they didn't have Yi Shiwen's speed and strength. All these determined that Yi Shiwen was invincible in the same realm. He could even kill those who were in a higher realm. This was Yi Shiwen's most powerful point. However, she didn't believe that a place called the Flourished Cloud Sea region could give birth to such a person. Such a person was more like a famous genius in the ancient Barrens continent. In midair, the battle between Yi Shiwen and Lin Fenghua had just begun. Damn it! Lin Fenghua didn't say anything. She directly expanded her domain, which was also a thunder domain. In an instant, the entire world seemed to have turned into a world of thunder and lightning. A huge force field of thunder and lightning formed instantly, enveloping the entire world in the sky. His thunder and lightning world was different from the previous person. It didn't focus on speed, but on control. Moreover, it was more tyrannical. Die! Lin Fenghua directly grabbed a handful of thunder and lightning in the air and struck it directly at Yi Shiwen. Boom! The thunder and lightning split the world, intending to strike Yi Shiwen to death. Yi Shiwen wasn't afraid at all. A sword light burst out from his sword, dispersing the thunder and lightning that struck down. The thunder and lightning in the sea of thunder and lightning that filled the sky were like electric snakes that blotted out the sky and covered the earth as they pounced towards Yi Shiwen. It's just a small trick. Yi Shiwen was fearless. The thunder and lightning sea in the sky was not a deterrent to him at all. For someone like him who had a slim chance of surviving the Retribution Transcendence, this level of thunder and lightning sea was nothing compared to what he had to face during the Retribution Transcendence. At most, it was just to the extent of scratching an itch. Every pore on his body was opening, spewing out waves of sword aura, which turned into small swords. In an instant, it formed a sword aura storm, sweeping in all directions, protecting Yi Shiwen. The thunder and lightning sea had no way to approach Yi Shiwen's body. Whoosh! Lin Fenghua held a thunderbolt in her hand and rushed in front of Yi Shiwen. In a flash, the thunderbolt turned into a sword, then into a blade, and then into a spear. There were hundreds of changes, and there was no fixed form at all. In this way, it was even more difficult to fathom, because every weapon's Dao was different, and so were their attacking styles. I don't care what martial arts you have, break it all for me. Yi Shiwen sneered and immediately blasted a punch. His fist was covered with golden divinities, and a terrifying golden fist energy swept out. The mighty golden fist energy broke through the sky and rushed out fiercely. Rumble! Yi Shiwen's fist energy directly tore the lightning apart. Immediately afterward, the golden fist energy instantly turned into a golden god and directly blasted out another punch. Boom! All the defenses that Lin Fenghua had set up were also torn apart in an instant. His thunder and lightning domain was also torn apart in an instant. Bang! The fist energy fell on his body, and his body directly flew out. He finally couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood on the spot. Boom! His body directly crashed into a mountain, directly blasting the huge mountain, and his body directly fell to the fracture point. This blow obviously directly injured him. Chapter 1058. Lin Fenghua was severely injured by Yi Shiwen at the start of the fight. It was completely different from what he had imagined. In other words, when Yi Shiwen was dealing with Huang Shuyi, he did not use his full strength, so Lin Fenghua somewhat underestimated him. Lin Fenghua thought that he could deal with Yi Shiwen, so he rashly brought people here. But even so, he still brought a number of half-step law manifestation realm experts. This thought could not be said to be careless and meticulous. However, he misjudged Yi Shiwen's strength from the beginning. On the basis of this wrong estimation, no matter how careful he was, it was useless, because he was fundamentally wrong. Many people who had fought with Yi Shiwen had more or less suffered a big loss from him. No matter how they overestimated Yi Shiwen's strength, when they finally fought, they would find that Yi Shiwen seemed to be stronger than they imagined. In the end, they often suffered a big loss and died in Yi Shiwen's hands. Lin Fenghua no longer had his previous graceful demeanor. He had been forced into a desperate situation by Yi Shiwen. For him, there was no room for retreat. Along with his loud roar, those thunder and lightning instantly jumped into his body like an electric snake. Countless thunder and lightning power rampaged inside his body, and the vigorous Jinyuan inside his body suddenly boiled up. Although he had been seriously injured by Yi Shiwen, but the Jinyuan inside his body had not been consumed much. At this time, the benefits of having a high cultivation level were fully reflected. Under the stimulation of thunder and lightning, he forcibly suppressed the injuries in his body, almost overdrawing his life. But now, he had no other choice. Under the stimulation of thunder and lightning, his speed suddenly increased a lot. He grabbed the thunder and lightning in his hand and directly rushed towards Yi Shiwen. With a wave of his hand, a dense thunder net would be formed and shrouded Yi Shiwen. It was abnormally sharp, covering Yi Shiwen from top to bottom. Under the stimulation of the thunder and lightning, Lin Fenghua's strength was actually close to Yi Shiwen's level. One had to know that Yi Shiwen's current combat strength was probably close to the peak of the half-step law phase realm intermediate stage. Even if he could not defeat a half-step law phase realm intermediate stage expert, he was still very confident that he could escape unscathed. Lin Fenghua could only be considered an ordinary expert at the mid-stage of the half-step law phase realm. Her increase in strength was especially obvious. Even if she overdrafted her life force, it was still shocking. Thunder technique? In front of me, these are just insignificant tricks. Let me show you my domain. Yi Shiwen sneered. He suddenly stamped his foot, and a circle of energy ripples swept out. Suddenly, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the sky. Then, the power of countless thunder and lightning appeared out of thin air. In addition, countless wind whistled over. This was Yi Shiwen's trump card. He would rarely use it under normal circumstances. He would only use it at the most critical moment. But now, he did not want to continue to delay. He wanted to end the battle quickly and defeat Lin Fenghua. Lin Fenghua was a little stunned. This was actually a domain of the power of wind and thunder. Moreover, in terms of the cultivation of the thunder technique, it seemed that Yi Shiwen was actually more powerful than him. After Yi Shiwen cast out his own domain, it immediately collided with Lin Fenghua's domain. Although there was no way to completely destroy Lin Fenghua's domain, at least Yi Shiwen would not be affected by Lin Fenghua's domain if he stood in his own domain. Yi Shiwen's strength showed a visible improvement. In other words, Yi Shiwen's strength that was previously suppressed by the domain suddenly burst out. Only a domain could resist a domain. Even if these were just fake domains, it was much more tyrannical than no domain at all. Yi Shiwen raised his hand, and the power of wind and thunder gathered together majestically. It seemed as if they had received some kind of command and transformed into a long river of wind and thunder power. The entire world seemed to be buzzing and distorting. Buzz! This long river of the power of wind and thunder swept out directly and attacked Lin Fenghua's domain. The power of thunder in Lin Fenghua's domain not only had no way to stop the attack of Yi Shiwen's long river of the power of wind and thunder, but it was also absorbed and turned into a part of the long river of the power of wind and thunder. Boom! 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 The long river of the power of wind and thunder broke into the domain. Every small distance, there was a layer of defense. However, there was no way to stop the crazy destruction of the power of wind and thunder. Most importantly, the power of thunder could also become the supplement of the long river of the power of wind and thunder. This was reflected in the thunder technique. Yi Shiwen's comprehension and cultivation were also far above Lin Fenghua's. Although the place where Lin Fenghua cultivated was the Sky Thunder Sea region, Yi Shiwen's cultivation environment was even more cruel because he had to face the test of heaven's retribution. If he was not careful, he would be split in half by the heaven's retribution. Although he had not been to the Sky Thunder Sea region, he did not care about the natural thunder retribution in the Sky Thunder Sea region. That was because the thunder retribution he had to face was 10 times or even 100 times more terrifying than these natural thunder retribution. He had even survived the heaven's retribution. What was so scary about a mere thunder technique? It could not even get close to him. If it was not for the fact that he did not want to attract attention in the Sky Thunder City, Huang Shi would not have caused any problems for him at all. The long river of thunder that Yi Shiwen blasted out quickly shattered all of Lin Fenghua's defenses. This was the so-called oppressive force. Yi Shiwen just fell down fiercely. Damn it! Lin Fenghua gritted her teeth and cursed. She condensed countless thunder and lightning and blasted out another punch. It collided with the long river of thunder and lightning. She wanted to forcibly take Yi Shiwen's attack. Bang! There was a violent explosion. Lin Fenghua retreated repeatedly. The countless thunder snakes on his body were almost shattered. Then, he spat out a mouthful of blood. The violent collision just now had directly made him unable to suppress his injury, and it directly relapsed. But at this time, he simply couldn't care so much. His expression was unsightly, and he bit the blood stains on his lips. The power of thunder and lightning on his body swept up many thunder and lightning dragons, roaring and twisting together, forming a huge storm. Then, he rushed towards Yi Shiwen fiercely. Myriad Tao in the world, orthodox thunder technique. With a roar, his entire body seemed to explode all of a sudden. Within his body, there were only countless crackling thunderbolts left. It was unknown how his entire body had been ravaged by the thunderbolts, but it had become even more terrifying. Boom! He casually blasted out a punch, and the thunder and lightning seemed to engulf the world. Countless blood chi in the surrounding evaporated. Even the space crazily distorted, forming circles of ripples. Countless thunder snakes danced wildly, illuminating the sky as if it was daytime. The thunder of the thunder snakes instantly expelled the eternal blood color in this world, and suddenly covered the entire world. He was truly furious. At the same time, he wanted to survive. Even if he would be severely injured because of this, it was better than being killed by Yi Shiwen. At the same time, there was also a kind of obsession in his heart. He had never seen such a terrifying, transcendent realm expert. Even a half-step law manifestation intermediate expert like him was not Yi Shiwen's opponent. Although his strength was not considered outstanding among the half-step law manifestation intermediate experts, he was not ordinary either. However, he still suffered a huge loss in Yi Shiwen's hands. Once such a person was let go, it would definitely be a huge trouble for the entire Sky Thunder City. For him, it would be a disaster. At this time, he no longer had the time to regret why he provoked this malefic person. At this time, all his thoughts were to defeat Yi Shiwen and let him die without a burial place. In the valley, countless thunder snakes danced in the sky. Yi Qianqian only looked at this scene indifferently. It seemed that there was no change in her because of it. She was just curious to see how Yi Shiwen would deal with it. On the authentic thunder technique. Using thunder technique in front of me is like showing off your sleight skill in front of an expert, said Yi Shiwen confidently. In order to cultivate the lightning wings to its peak, his understanding of thunder technique could be said to be far beyond everyone's imagination. Although the lightning wings were only a part of the demon wings level of cultivation, the fact that it could be incorporated into the demon wings showed how difficult it was to cultivate the lightning wings. However, he had still successfully stepped into the peak of the lightning wings. One could imagine his attainments in the lightning technique. At this time, it was not wrong to call himself the authentic thunder technique. He casually grabbed a handful of thunder and lightning. In his domain of wind and lightning power, all the wind and lightning power was dominated by him. It was as if his whole body was integrated into these thunder and lightning. Suddenly, a pair of wind and lightning wings appeared behind him and flapped. Boom! Endless power raged, and the wind and lightning power hit Lin Fenghua's body. Puchi! Lin Fenghua suddenly screamed and spat out a mouthful of blood. He was seriously injured by Yi Shiwen again. This time, he could no longer suppress the injuries on his body. Lin Fenghua, where is that woman? Suddenly, a violent roar came from the sky. Hao Tsang. This name suddenly appeared in Yi Shiwen's mind. However, his movement was not slow. His figure directly appeared in the sky above Lin Fenghua, and he suddenly stomped his feet. Bang! Yi Shiwen's terrifying power hit Lin Fenghua's body, and his body was trampled into two halves in the air. Who are you? You actually killed Lin Fenghua. That ruthless voice suddenly appeared not far away, and there was a tinge of astonishment and brutality in its tone. Chapter 1059. Then, a ray of blood shot out from Yi Shiwen's body and swept away all the corpses in an instant. Who are you? How dare you kill Lin Fenghua? That ruthless voice suddenly appeared not far away, and there was a tinge of astonishment and brutality in its tone. Yi Shiwen looked up and saw a tyrannical aura approaching from afar, and instantly rushed over. This person was about 27 or 28 years old. He had fair skin, but there was a somewhat fierce look on his face. He seemed to be in disbelief, but also had a somewhat murderous look on his face. There was a kind of power in his body that even Yi Shiwen felt was terrifying. It was unfathomable. Although he had not entered the half-step law phase late stage, he was far stronger than the average half-step law phase middle stage experts. It could even be said that he could easily kill 8 or 10 experts who had just entered the half-step law phase middle stage that Yi Shiwen had killed previously. From this, one could see how terrifying this person was. There was only one name in Yi Shiwen's mind, and that was Hao Tsang. Only Hao Tsang met the above conditions. Hao Tsang. Yi Shiwen revealed the person's identity. That's right. I am Hao Tsang. Who are you? Hao Tsang looked at Yi Shiwen coldly. His body stood still, and the slight shock on his face disappeared. His aura was as steady as a mountain and unusually terrifying. As for Lin Fenghua, who had just been killed by Yi Shiwen, he did not seem to be too interested in her. Yi Shiwen did not hide and said indifferently, "You are quite brave. Do you know that the people you killed are enough to make the overlord of the Sky Thunder Sea region chase you to the ends of the earth?" Hao Tsang sneered. "You can try. You have to be able to find me." Yi Shiwen said indifferently. There were too many sea regions in the blood world. Otherwise, how could it be called the Endless Sea region? There were countless sea regions in the north, south, east, and west seas. There were countless experts among them. Even if they wanted to find him for revenge, they had to be able to find out where he came from. Moreover, could they even find out where he was in the true martial domain? Hence, Yi Shiwen was not afraid at all. "You have a big temper and ruthless methods." Hao Tsang seemed to have restrained his astonishment when Lin Fenghua had been killed a moment ago. He just coldly looked at Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen was somewhat astonished in his heart because this Hao Tsang was completely different from the impression he had heard. According to the information he had heard, Hao Tsang was an extremely tyrannical person. Even the first deputy city lord Lin Fenghua found it difficult to disobey his orders. In the Sky Lightning Sea region, he was famous for being tyrannical. However, from the looks of it now, Hao Tsang might still be tyrannical. Tyrannical was the right word to describe him, but it was far from just being tyrannical. "You must have planned this for a long time, luring out those idiots and then catching them all in one fell swoop. This method is not bad. I admire it very much." Hao Tsang said. "You can tell? These are just small tricks." Yi Shiwen said. "Little trick, ha, these idiots were fooled by your little trick. You made use of their fear of losing that woman to lure them out, and then caught them all in one fell swoop. TSK, I don't know how to comment on this." Hao Tsang said. His figure did not seem to have moved at all, but the natural pressure had already landed on Yi Shiwen. He was already about to enter the half-step law phase late stage. Yi Shiwen secretly judged in his heart. On the surface, he did not show it, but in his heart, he began to analyze the information. According to the information obtained previously, Hao Tsang was in closed-door training, trying to break into the half-step law phase late stage. However, seeing that he came out early, he knew that his closed-door training should have failed, and he did not enter the half-step law phase late stage. Hence, he was so anxious to find Yi Qianqian, because only by obtaining Yi Qianqian's primordial Yin could he possibly enter the half-step law phase late stage. No wonder he suddenly appeared here. However, it was also because of this that it seemed even more troublesome. "You want to avenge Lin Fenghua and the others?" Yi Xuan asked. "I'm not interested in avenging that guy. Although he is my subordinate now in the Sky Thunder Sea region, we are also the most direct opponents. If it wasn't for those old guys, I would have already slaughtered them all." Hao Tsang said indifferently. Everything seemed to be natural. It was even possible that apart from Lin Fenghua's strength and value, he was actually not as trustworthy as an expert from another sea region. He completely had the disposition of an ambitious and ruthless person. "Now that you help me kill them, that's great. It saves me the trouble of doing it myself, and I have a reason to dodge those old guys," Hao Tsang said with a sneer. "I admire your methods and scheming. I'll give you a chance. As long as you surrender to me, I'll let you take over Lin Fenghua's position. In the Sky Thunder City, you'll be in existence below only one person and above tens of thousands." There was a bit of hesitation on Yi Xuan's face. It seemed as if he was considering Hao Tsang's proposal. In fact, he was secretly thinking of a way to escape. Hao Tsang was more tyrannical than he had imagined. In the face of such an opponent, ordinary methods were simply useless. Seeing Yi Xuan's hesitation, Hao Tsang continued, "As long as you hand over that woman, I can give you half of the wealth of Lin Fenghua and the others." Hao Tsang looked like he was trying to recruit Yi Xuan on the surface. However, killing intent was surging in his heart. He would kill Yi Xuan once he handed over Yi Qianqian. In his eyes, only Yi Qianqian, who could help him make a breakthrough, was the most important thing. Everything else was simply a trivial matter. It was precisely because of this that he didn't kill Yi Xuan. Suddenly, Yi Xuan finally moved. He directly swept out a domain of the power of wind and thunder, and enveloped Hao Tsang within it. Suddenly, an earth-ranked magic sword appeared in his hand. It drew a sword flower in the sky, and instantly transformed into a sword aura that filled the sky. It was wrapped in the power of wind and thunder, and instantly pounced in front of Hao Tsang. Hao Tsang's complexion changed. He hadn't expected that Yi Xuan would actually launch an attack. In other words, in his opinion, everything about Yi Xuan was under his control. Yi Xuan had already been bewitched by him, and there shouldn't be any accidents. However, Yi Xuan wasn't a person who acted according to common sense. "You're courting death," Hao Tsang shouted, and crushed the domain of the power of wind and thunder that was spreading over. After all, Yi Xuan's realm was far inferior to his. When he was dealing with Lin Fenghua, Yi Xuan could still rely on his tyrannical strength to defeat him. However, in the face of a tyrannical person like Hao Tsang, the disadvantage of his realm was undoubtedly manifested. Unless his cultivation could advance a step further, perhaps it would be very difficult for him to contend against Hao Tsang. Immediately after, he casually grabbed and transformed into a sky full of thunder and lightning. It collided with the sword aura that filled the sky. Boom! He forcibly tore the sword aura apart. Thump, thump, thump. Yi Xuan retreated again and again. Every step he took directly collapsed a piece of blood qi. The scene looked exceptionally spectacular. He forcefully diverted this power into the air, and even blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. It was merely a collision, and Yi Xuan had suffered some minor injuries. One could well imagine the strength of Hao Tsang. At this moment, countless thoughts appeared in Yi Xuan's mind. This Hao Tsang was definitely an ice-cold and ambitious person. This kind of person was definitely the most difficult to deal with. This was because this kind of person was vicious and merciless. He had long seen that this Hao Tsang didn't have any good intentions. Moreover, he wasn't interested in becoming the deputy city lord. If he really wanted to grasp the authority, wouldn't it have been better to stay in flourishing Cloud City? Immediately, Yi Xuan did not hesitate. A pair of tempest wings unfolded behind him in the air. With a sudden flap, his figure instantly flew out like a thunderstorm. A blood light swept out, and Yi Qianqian, who was in the valley, was instantly brought up. Yi Qianqian did not have the slightest resistance and was captured by Yi Shiwen. In other words, she, who had her shoulder blades locked, had the ability to resist. Let's go. This bastard is ferocious, Yi Shiwen shouted in a low voice. The tempest wings behind him flapped more frequently. In fact, Yi Qianqian had seen it in the valley just now. Compared to Yi Shiwen, she knew more about Hao Tsang's terror. After all, it was Hao Tsang who captured her back then. For this reason, many experts were dispatched, and she was captured in one fell swoop. From the moment Hao Tsang made his move, she knew that Yi Shiwen was not Hao Tsang's opponent. Although Hao Tsang's strength was unfathomable and bottomless, Transcendent Realm 8th level was still Transcendent Realm 8th level. No matter how deep the water was, it was limited. It was just like a big river. Even the Yangtze River could not compare to the depth of the sea. Hao Tsang's strength had exceeded the limit that Yi Shiwen could deal with. If she unlocked the chain on her shoulder blades, there was still hope to deal with Hao Tsang. Otherwise, he could only flee for his life. However, she was more curious about the fact that Yi Shiwen's agility technique was obviously extraordinary. His speed was so fast that she didn't even have time to react before she was caught up with him. This kind of agility technique was much faster than those heaven-level agility techniques in her impression. Although Yi Shiwen's cultivation was still too low, it was because Yi Shiwen's cultivation was still too low. Otherwise, this movement technique would definitely be shockingly fast. You want to leave? Hao Tsang had been tricked by Yi Shiwen. His heart was burning with anger. However, he didn't realize that Yi Shiwen didn't have any good intentions at all. He had never thought of recruiting Yi Shiwen. He had only wanted to deceive Yi Qianqian's whereabouts. But at this time, he was only filled with anger from being tricked by Yi Shiwen. He shattered Yi Shiwen's domain in one fell swoop and directly chased after Yi Shiwen. Terrifying attacks constantly bombarded Yi Shiwen, wanting to shred Yi Shiwen into pieces. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.